What's up? It's CVV, Chris Van Vliet, and you are listening to the Junkyard.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 7 of the Junkyard. My name's Spencer Cantor, also known as number 11, Join the Dark Order. Gentlemen, introduce yourself to the people if they don't already know who they are. You are.
Alrighty then. Well, if you don't know who we are, you should know by now. And for those of you that don't, I am Dennis Day Jr., otherwise known as DDJ, the host of What Do You Say with DDJ that drops every Monday at 12 a.m., part of the Pro Wrestling Junkies Pod Squad.
Cheap pop.
Cheap pop indeed.
Speaking of cheap,
ladies and gentlemen, I am El Guapo, Jovanni too Hotty, but you already knew that.
Did we? Did we know that already?
I hope they did.
I feel like we should have.
And if you don't know, now you know.
You know.
Don't say that. Gentlemen, how are you doing tonight?
It's a good night, man. I'm feeling pretty good. How about you two?
Always feeling good. Jovan, you feeling good? What you watching over there?
I'm feeling excellent, gentlemen. I've got some UFC on. We just watched Kenny Omega do his thing in Mexico.
Yeah, buddy.
It's a good night. I say we kill this like Kenny.
Yeah, let's take it out. Let's
you bastards.
Let's collect some views and go into This Week in Wrestling. All right, so for This Week in Wrestling, I want to start off with the biggest thing that happened this week, and that was, speaking of the aforementioned Kenny Omega, he was on Impact, which, guys, I actually watched this week on Twitch. Woo! So they gained one viewer. No more than that. No, they actually gained like a lot of viewers. What did they get to? Like, I think 50,000 or 60,000 on Twitch?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Was their most watched episode on Twitch.
And overall, I think when they factored in everything, I think it was something like, what was it, like 750,000? It was just some insane amount that they pulled total with, like, you know, across all the different platforms they were broadcasting this on, which in addition to Access TV and Twitch, I believe they also had it on. They showed a replay on their YouTube page like afterwards.
So you said 750K viewers. I think our friends on Wednesday night on the other show, NXT, only got into 600. So Impact may have done better than they did this week.
Wow.
I believe so, which that's something. And if just real quick, first hot take of the night, I'm taking this hot take. If that doesn't make Vince McMahon and the rest of WWE sit up and take notice, I don't know what will.
Exactly.
Hey, here's my hot take. Vince doesn't give two shits about that and will continue to ruin his product, but that's not even a hot take.
Oh, yeah. That's
such good shoot.
He's proven he doesn't care anymore. He just likes to be the kid with all the toys, and we'll touch on that when we get into the WWE segments a little later on.
You can call me the genetic jackhammer.
Oh, God, we're already getting Vince McMahon impressions. This is going to be a fun night, gentlemen. Also, sticking on Impact, because of this rating and, you know, Kenny Omega being the AEW World Champion, and he was on Impact, we are going to get him on actually this Tuesday, the day this pod drops, tonight's episode of Impact. So it'll be interesting to see if more people stick around, or because of like the promo and how it was kind of like the same on AEW, we'll get to that later. If they come back around, because the action, it was okay, but it was not the best episode of Impact. As you alluded to in your, I think your 2 cents, Jovan, or your hot or not, you said they did not really put on that best good of a show, and they should have put on something better because, you know, you did have the AEW World Champion on there. So talk a little more about that and why you thought that.
All right, brother, no problem. But that was the 2 cents on Wednesday, right after the episode aired. Man, I got done watching Impact, and it felt like we waited on until the last 10 minutes of the show where we got Kenny Omega. And the whole show, I mean, I'm not going to fault every aspect of the show. Yes, there was a little bit of a possible build between Omega and Swan, with them referring to Kenny as the champ and Swan's Impact champ. So we can see where that goes. But other than that small nod to maybe future issue with Kenny becoming the belt collector, we didn't get much in this episode. A real good match was had by the women's tag tournament. You know, that was a good showing. I'm thinking maybe one other match was kind of decent on there. Was the finale with Moose, Chris Bay, Moose. Of course, Swan and Willie Mack, but those are all your big good dogs that you put out at the end to try to bring life into a fairly lifeless show.
Right.
Knowing that you had all these extended eyes on you with the Impact, with the AEW World Champion there in the Impact Zone, you should have put on an episode for the ages. Like DDJ and I have been saying over the past few weeks that Impact had been putting on great shows, real good shows. The content was good. The matches were good. But why did you choose this night out of all nights to fall flat? It makes absolutely no sense.
If I could actually kind of maybe give a little bit of a different perspective on that, it to me, I feel like a lot of this stuff with AEW and Impact came about recently. And obviously, we know a lot of these companies, they've been doing weeks of programming at a time. So what I feel as if is the content that we saw in the ring, you know, all the matches and everything, which, Jovanni, you covered all the bases with the good stuff that we saw. I really don't know what else they could have done if this show was already in the can, so to speak, you know, and they just, you know, brought in Omega. Like, if this was something like live or something, I think we would have had a much different show and probably a better show. But just begin the circumstances being what they are. This I don't know how long ago this show was recorded, but I think it was long, and I think it was long enough to maybe where there was talk of this, you know, partnership happening, but it just really what the T's hadn't been crossed, the I's hadn't been dotted, however you want to put it and stuff. And I think it just came about, you know, and this was kind of their way to get it in. And from a business perspective, or however you want to put it, I mean, the best thing, the smartest thing they did with that show was save that segment to the end, because it made everybody watch the whole show. And regardless of whether or not you like the show or not, which, Jovanni, I will agree with you, it was a little bit of a letdown. But again, I spoke as to why I feel the show was the way it was. But I mean, that was a smart thing to do, because you'd be a fool to put that right up at the beginning, because, you know, everybody would have seen that. That would have been it. You would have had your ratings go like this, and then just, you know, dive and stuff. So, but yeah, all in all, it was an okay show for what it was. I'm really excited. I still watch Impact week to week, because I still think they have a lot of great guys and gals there and stuff. And, you know, like Spencer alluded to earlier, Kenny's going to be back again this upcoming week and stuff. So I'm anxious to see, because now we've had a little bit of, you know, revelation as to what's going on. So now we can really see this grow. And to all those people that thought that this was just a one week, one-off type thing, you were wrong.
DDJ just saying, screw you, haters. Don't listen to all the dirt sheets.
Yeah, screw you, hippies.
But yeah, you brought up a very interesting point. Yeah, because a lot of these companies are doing like tapings at a time, and I think maybe Impact might be coming to the end of their tapings, or we might be getting maybe one or two more before that's up. So maybe after that, we'll get like some more planned shows, because as we're seeing, this is definitely not the end of it with Kenny coming back. So hopefully, maybe he'll actually be in the Impact Zone and not just like a pre-recorded segment like last time. So it'd be very interesting to see what they do with that. And as we're talking about now, Kenny is ultimately talking about becoming a belt collector. So be very interesting to see where they go with that and how far they take it, like what belts he goes after. Because there's a lot of there's a lot of companies out there that aren't the WWE that would love to be involved in this storyline because this is a money storyline if they do it correctly.
All right, here comes hot takes.
All right. Hot take, Jovanni, and then I got something I want to say.
Hot take. Impact Wrestling, to me, has built this perfectly for Kenny Omega to become the Impact World Champion. This has not been any secret that I have been underwhelmed by Rich Swann. I did not know why he won the belt off of Eric Young. Eric Young, to me, was your prototypical heel champ, and his in-work ability is amazing. Name me another person not named Jake the Snake that has made a pile driver legitimate. Okay?
Jerry Lawler?
Well, okay, I'll give you Jerry Lawler. But I mean, like...
Orndorff?
Damn it, DJ. Anyway.
Let the man speak.
I think pile driver, I'm thinking Jake the Snake, and I'm thinking Eric Young with the way he's been doing it lately. But
did Jake the Snake ever do a pile driver? I thought he was the DDT.
He was the DDT. But like I'm saying, those moves, damn it, to hell, Bobby. You see what happens when I let him talk? Kills me.
Shut up, DJ.
But I've well been noted that I don't like Rich Swann. I think him as a champion for right now, it diminishes a little bit of the title. To me, this is the perfect opportunity to have Kenny Omega go in there and look strong against Swann, because Swann's a smaller worker, right? Mm-hmm. He's not a big body guy. You can have Kenny go in there and look very, very strong, take Swann out and get the title. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. It'll probably happen. If Kenny's going to be the belt collector, this is the route you go. You give him the main belt. You don't go X Division, you go Impact title.
Right.
Now, Impact has the perfect usurper to the throne for when it's time for Kenny to drop the titles. And I think that's what we need to start looking into, is if Kenny starts collecting titles, who takes them back to their company?
Yeah.
Impact has a beast, or rather a moose.
Yeah, I knew it was coming.
Ooh.
Who can be that big body beast guy who's shown a lot of aggression, who has gotten DQ'd for just throwing massive elbows. This man can go in there and destroy. If you're taking belts off of somebody who took a belt from your company, you don't want someone to win out by a schoolboy roll-up. You want someone to go in there, dominate, bring the prestige back to your show.
Right.
Moose does that. So, hot take, Kenny Omega takes the belt off of Rich Swann. When he starts to drop all those belts that he's collected, Moose comes back and takes it for Impact.
Okay, so I'm going to take what you said and kind of throw in a little comparison, but then I'm also going to give you someone that I would much rather even see Kenny Omega take the title off of, because I think there's somebody that's currently on the roster that would even make up for a much better match with Kenny Omega than Rich Swann. And I've been on the Rich Swann bandwagon. I was the only one that predicted his victory at Bound for Glory. So
this again.
Yep, yeah. I'm over there. But I kind of look at it this way.
Hey, Spencer, you remember that 0 for 5? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, you bastards. But well played. But think of this. Kenny Omega right now could become known as the Thanos of the pro wrestling world.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, what did Thanos do? He went around searching and collecting the Infinity Stones.
Yep.
And that's so. What's Kenny doing? He's going to do the belt collector thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that so. Anybody that works marketing for pro wrestling tees, right? If you're listening to this, if I ever see a Kenny Omega shirt with the Infinity Gauntlet on, I want royalties. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. Thank you.
No, they're not just going to you. It's going to Pro Wrestling Junkies too. Be a team player.
Hey, you know what? Whatever. I can live with that.
Go to the Junkyard.
But here's some even better. But here's a guy that I think would make for an even better match with Kenny Omega. I'm going to give you one, Eddie Edwards.
Yes.
I think I would, as much as I love Eddie Edwards, I would, and like I said, I love Rich Swann, but I would much rather see Kenny Omega take the belt from Eddie Edwards and stuff. So I think that would make for a much better match. Or if he takes it from Swann, like you said, Moose as your guy to take it back. I would love to see Eddie Edwards take that belt back, because that guy is amazing. And I think how we refer to as Ciampa as the heart and soul of NXT, I think Eddie Edwards is the heart and soul of Impact Wrestling right now.
I won't argue that fact. Eddie Edwards is the heart and soul. I love me Boston Eve Party, but Moose, my case for Moose, to make it even stronger, Moose is a company man.
Yeah.
Moose has been with Impact through thick and thin. Moose is the TNA champion.
So
Keep
is
this in mind.
Eddie's been the longest Moose, if not even longer.
Hey, that TNA championship around Moose waist is the reason why he is initially going to get this Impact title, and I'll tell you why. They need one solid, legitimate champion, and his name will be Moose.
You know what? For your birthday, I'm going to buy you a Moose Sucks Egg shirt.
Brother, I have 2 Moose shirts and a belt. I don't have a Moose Sucks Egg shirt, though.
Well, hey, guess what? You're getting a Moose Sucks Egg shirt now from DDJ. Expect that in the mail.
Oh,
Yeah, especially since one of you guys threatened to send me a Retribution shirt, so I gotta get it.
Yeah. You're not going to know when. It's not going to be for Christmas. It's going to be some random day, and you're just going to show up, and you're
Show up on February 4th or something like that.
Happy Valentine's Day from Retribution.
Don't ruin the plan, Jovan.
Oh.
Oh boy.
All right. So that's enough of Impact. Let's move on to AEW because those two do connect together. And Kenny Omega was on AEW. He basically gave the same promo again, talking about being a belt collector and everything. But it was really cool. He arrived in a helicopter, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So let's kind of just run through the card real quick, and then you guys can talk about certain moments, whatever you want to talk about. I have one moment I for sure want to talk about. So we have the Young Bucks versus TH2. If TH2 won, they would get a title shot. You know, that old cliche. TH2 did not win. The Young Bucks won. We have the Diamond Battle Royal Finals. We had MJF versus Orange Cassidy. Good match.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that were picking OC to win this one, and it looked like he was going to win. But then we had Miro come out and just wreck everybody. MJF won. He's a 2-time Diamond Dozen Ring champion. And then Miro is again attacking everyone, and he almost kills a ref.
Yes.
Yeah, did he drop somebody off the stage on it, almost basically on his head or something?
Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting because I know Tony Khan said he wanted to get Miro more involved and make him a more legit contender. So possibly could see Miro fighting Orange Cassidy, maybe getting a win over him, and then maybe going for a belt in the near future, and probably 2021.
Would it be the TNT title belt? I mean, that would be...
That's the only one I can think of that would be even remotely possible, because I don't think you take the tag titles off the Bucks right now, and then Kenny is untouchable.
Yeah.
Right. So that would be it, because I know Brian Cage is... Darby Allin basically said, hey, Team Taz, you've been attacking me, but Brian Cage, you've been the main one that has been leading the charge, so I'm going to give you a TNT title shot.
Yep.
So I think that was the right move. I mean, Darby hasn't beaten Cage.
Yeah.
Cage has always, done this jacked up stuff to him. I mean, hell, he put him in a body bag and thud tags and threw him off the stage.
Yeah.
Cage, I think, threw him through the ladder on his debut.
Yep.
So if Darby Allin is trying to make himself legitimate, going after the big guy who's been a thorn in your side is going to do that.
So exactly. If we see that match, though, do we see a certain appearance from a man who has a face paint style similar to one Darby Allin?
That's the reason he wins.
That's the only reason he wins. Let's get into that, because I think that's the big thing I want to talk about for sure from AEW. Because, like I said, we already knew what Kenny was going to say, so we can move on from that. So, Sting comes out. Tony Schiavone is kind of doing, he does an introduction, but then he does, the famous thing is like, it's Sting!
I popped for that.
I did too.
I think a lot of people did. So it was really cool seeing that interaction again. And then Cody was out in the ring because, Cody always has to be out in the ring. But then
Cody hate.
we're going to get a lot more into the Cody hate. You're going to probably hate me by the end of this segment. But yeah, Cody is like, oh man, Sting, it's so glad to have you here at TNT after like 19 years. And you can tell how bad Cody wants to have a match with Sting.
Mm-hmm.
And
Who wouldn't?
And yeah, even though he's getting up there in age, he could probably still have a good match or two, possibly.
Strong on the turnbuckle.
Yeah. But yeah, so then Sting says, hey, I'm not here for you. I'm here for the guy in the rafters. And that is Darby Allin. So it looks like from like all reports, Sting is going to kind of be like a manager to Darby Allin, or kind of like a mentor to Darby Allin, as you were alluding to DDJ.
Mm-hmm.
And then right as Sting is about to walk out, he grabs Cody, puts his arm around him, says, see you around, kid. And just walks away. First off, go ahead and talk about like the interaction in that segment, and then I'll give my hot take.
Ooh, a hot take to come.
Ooh, a hot take.
So that was I first off, again, I legit popped with what Tony Schiavone did, the It's Sting, and then seeing them embrace like that was pretty cool, because it's a throwback nod to their time together in WCW, because Sting was the franchise of WCW, and Tony Schiavone was, I guess you could make it a case for him being the voice of WCW, because literally he was there pretty much the entire WCW run and stuff. I mean, obviously, before they were WCW, they were still known as the NWA. He had a little bit of an excursion in the WWF back at the time and stuff. But, I mean, a lot of people, when you think of the voice of WCW, it's Tony Schiavone and that and stuff. So it was nice to see that, a little bit of a nod, You also had a little bit of a stare down between Sting and Arn Anderson, who have never really been on the same page, which I thought was cool. And then, you mentioned the whole, Cody and stuff. And it was nice to see, like Cody saying, hey, it's great to have you here. But Sting's like, I didn't come here for you. I came. And then he basically pointed up to the rafters, because people. Who was the guy that made hanging out in the rafters popular?
Sting.
Yep.
Sting. I had a bad joke, but I was going to leave it alone. Sting.
Thank you. I hope you weren't going to throw maybe a reference to the Police or anything like that. I don't want you standing so close to me, so. Every breath I'll take, I'll be watching you afterwards. So
I'll be watching.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Okay. So we're kind of heading off the rails here already. So
that's how we do what we do best.
Yes, we do. We make it an art form.
Yep.
Yeah, we do.
If the Uncle Dave were rating our times going off the rails, he'd definitely give it 6 stars. Yeah. But anyways, back to what we were talking about, though. No, I thought the segment was really great. I thought it was a great way to kind of introduce Sting to the AEW audience. It obviously, anytime a new guy shows up, or, a guy that comes from another organization, is one of the things that's always asked about is, what is this guy doing here? Why is he here? What does he want? And I'm so happy. And because this is kind of a little bit of a take on these people out here who are still bitching about Sting because he's 1 year old and stuff. The thing is AEW showing why they know what they're doing with these legends. You did not see Sting coming out to the ring and challenging Kenny Omega for the AEW title. We're unlike the other company that's having Goldberg come back to challenge for the Universal title again and stuff. Sting came out because he wants to be, the mentor, the voice, whatever you call it, the guide to Darby Allin. And who benefits more from this than anybody?
Darby Allin.
Darby.
Sting is coming in to make Darby Allin. He's not coming in to, Sting's done everything he needs to do. Sting, doesn't need to do anything else. He's and this is one thing why a lot of people are like, oh yeah, everybody's all gaga over Sting being in AEW, but they, they're shitting on Goldberg being in WWE because
it's different. It's a completely different take, you guys.
Yes. And it's because a lot of these people I hear are short-sighted, and I think a lot of these people that are making this stink are WWE fanboys.
Yeah. I think what they're not getting, and it's like DDJ said, man, it's all fanboys who think that AEW is going to put Sting immediately into the title picture, which they're not. No. Sting is coming through. He's given his intention. I'm here for Darby, the man in the rafters. And there's no, we're not going to see a 60-second squash with Sting and Kenny Omega and kill one of the hottest wrestlers in the world just because it's Sting. This isn't Goldberg, guys. This is no spear jackhammer bullshit. This is going to be a legitimate I'm here to help this kid out, a la what Arn is doing with Cody, what Jake is doing with the Murder Hawk,
what Tully's doing with FTR,
and eventually the Horsemen. It just makes sense to have backup, to have somebody who can give you a little bit of like, hey, here's some good advice because I've done this longer than you have.
Mm-hmm.
I've been around the block. How about you do this? And Darby Allin as a newly established star, because don't make any crosswords about it. Darby Allin is a star.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna make him a megastar by having Sting with them. At least learning from a legend, this is gonna build up that kid's star.
Think about it this way. Okay, so yeah, you've got the legend and Sting coming out to help out the, I don't want to call him a rookie, but let's just say, the hotshot prospect in Darby Allin.
Blue chipper.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, blue chipper. There we go. Think about it this way. You're this highly sought after basketball prodigy. You just got drafted in the NBA. Would if Michael Jordan walked, if I were the number one draft pick in this year's NBA draft, first off, I'd have to smack myself awake because we all know that ain't gonna happen. But, I mean, if I were the number one draft pick in the NBA, and let's just say because he owns them, I would got drafted to the Charlotte Hornets. Michael Jordan's the owner of the Hornets. If Michael Jordan came to me and is like, here, I got some stuff that's going to help you up your game even that much more, I'd be a fool not to take that.
Exactly.
The same thing. Like if I'm the new quarterback in the NFL and Peyton Manning come up to me, he's like, here's how you can make your game even that much better, or something like that. Or let's just say, baseball player like Ken Griffey Jr. comes up to me. He's like, here, you do this with your swing, you're going to hit that many more home runs. I would be a fool.
That might be juicing.
No, not Ken Griffey Jr. If I had said Barry Bonds, now we're talking.
Okay. Now we're talking juicing.
Ken Griffey Jr. never juiced, in my opinion. I think to this day, had he not been injured all those years, he would have shattered the home run record. He'd be over 800.
There you go. Hot take.
Hot take in a different sport. So, but kind of getting back to sports here, I again. From the moment I saw Sting show up, I'm like, this is going to do nothing but good for the roster of AEW because they know what to do with these legends, and I expect nothing less from what they're going to do with Sting.
All right, DDJ, we've been hot airs enough. Let's hear what Spencer says. I think he's about to blow up down there.
Spencer, the floor is yours.
All right. Follow me into a journey, gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
All right. So, Sting is on AEW now.
Mm-hmm.
Cody wants to have a match with Sting. Cody is never going to get a match with Sting as his current self. So I want you to pay attention in the following weeks and months to Sting's interaction and Cody's interaction with these names: Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, FTR, Sean Spears. Gentlemen, the arrival of Sting will lead to the new formation of the new Four Horsemen, and Cody will join that group.
I am so down.
You know what? The way you laid it out, Spence, I'm in.
Because
I'm all in.
That's
For those of you listening to this, Spencer's wearing an all-in shirt. So
yes, I am. And we will get into that in our weekly roundtable section when we talk about our greatest live shows we've been to, but we'll get back to that. So in WCW and back in the days, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are more knowledgeable about this. Sting and Ric Flair, they were friends, and always Ric Flair got one over on Sting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Ric Flair was in the Four Horsemen, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, was it Sting at one point in the Four Horsemen?
Yes, late, I think it was like basically late 1989, early 1990.
All right. Yep. So this is going to kind of come full circle, and these new Four Horsemen are going to get one over on Sting. But I think he's going to like feed through it, and maybe there might be like our new, like, because the Inner Circle versus the Elite, that was going to be the blood and guts match. But if it ever happens again, because I think that's kind of put on the back burner, I could see like the new four horsemen going against like Sting and a crew he makes like with Darby Allin.
Squadron.
Damn. Team
Yep.
Squad Sting.
Yep. So if that happens, I'm going to gloat like hell on here.
You should, because you know what, Spencer? I give you and I give Jovanni a lot of crap on here, just much like you guys give me all kinds of crap, especially when I went 0-5 during War Games, which I deserved. Not gonna lie, but I really like the way you laid that out, because the way you laid that out, I could easily see that happening just as you described.
It's good storytelling, man. I'm down with it as well, bro. I could see it happening to the point to where I want it to happen. And hell, who would Team Sting be? Darby Allin.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking of.
Three people, man, at least to do the 4v4.
Yeah,
You know what? I would say you could throw him in. I could easily see the Bucks being part of this.
That's what I was going to say. The Bucks to go against FTR, and then you need someone to go. Let's see. Darby counteracts with Cody.
Maybe
John Speed. Scorpio Sky.
Scorpio Sky.
Oh, I was thinking either him or maybe someone that we all thought might have been part of that four horseman group. Maybe a certain cowboy.
No, Cowboy's going to be a little bit busy with the Dark Order.
Cowboys joining Dark Order.
Damn straight. Let's just get into it, because I think your mind have been blown.
Real quick before you go, one little thing I want to throw out to anyone. If you guys watched the latest episode of Being the Elite, how funny was it at the end when they were prepping the locker room for the big champagne celebration while the match was going on, and they go back to the ring, and Brandon Cutler's all ready to party and stuff, and the Bucks are all dejected, and Brandon's like, "What happened?" And I think it was Matt's like, "Kenny turned heel," and that was it. I thought that was brilliant.
Yes,
that was good. That was a good part. So we had 10 versus Dustin Rhodes. Good match. 10 was never going to win. It was always going to be Dustin, but it was more. It was always going to be the aftermath. Uno comes to the ring, and he wants to offer Dustin a position in the Dark Order, and he says, "Hey, your number can be 7." And
I legit laughed my ass off with that.
DDJ, tell the people what's the meaning behind that.
Okay, so for all of you fans of WCW in the late 90s, early 2000s, which as bad as that product was, I don't blame you if there are a lot out there. But back in, I think it was 1999, there were these vignettes about this guy that was all white and wore basically like an outfit similar to the Undertaker's entrance robe and hat. Come to Nitro one day, and all of a sudden this weird music hits, and this guy just kind of like floats to the ring. He's all white, and then you start thinking, it's just like, wait a minute, he looks really familiar. And then all of a sudden, this guy who was billed as 7 starts talking and basically breaks character, and next thing you know, it's Dustin Rhodes. So yes, that was brilliant. I thought, throwing back to his time with that horrible gimmick that I think Dustin himself hated so much that on its debut he broke character. At least that's what it showed on TV and stuff. But yeah, it's just a little throwback to late 90s WCW, and this is this kind of stuff why I love AEW, because they know how to interweave those little bits of history.
I think they also had like the vignettes for 7 had like this creepy outside of a kid kind of feel, and like outside the kids' rooms, kind of like just stalker feel to it. And then out of nowhere he debuts, and he just completely, I ain't doing this shit. So that was actually, golly, I can't believe we didn't talk about 7 in our best of debuts. Because
well, when we do part 2.
Jesus, 7's got to be in there.
Hey, we can call it Debuts 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo, yes.
Yeah, you heard it here on the Junkyard. So thank you, DDJ. Thank you, Jovan. I know I wasn't very knowledgeable of that, and I know a lot of our viewers probably weren't, so thank you. So, of course, Dustin, he kind of entertains it for a sec, but then he just beats the hell out of Uno, and then the Dark Order comes to his aid, and then Uno is like, you'll regret that. You'll see the error of your ways. So we're definitely – Dustin Rhodes is not joining the Dark Order anytime soon. But there was a little like backstage segment where Hangman is going to have a match tomorrow with against Matt Hardy and Private Party, who are having their own issues right now from like the Battle Royal, and Hardy's basically putting himself over and thinking he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, since he's done everything and he should get all the credit. But
it's Money Matt.
Yeah. But now Hangman needs partners, and he's at the bar, and at the bar, the Dark Order, Alex Reynolds and John Silver show up.
How could you screw up your favorite wrestler's name?
I know. I was thinking that too, but I was going to let him make it.
Hey, it's late. Sometimes you forget it. But John,
it don't get any easier as you get older. I can tell you that.
John Silver and Alex Reynolds show up. It's like, hey, you need a partner, Hangman? Johnny Hungy. So he's like, I know I'm going to regret this, but he's like, fine, you guys can be my partner. So we are going to get Matt Hardy and Private Party versus Hangman, and Alex Reynolds, and John Silver, and it's going to be the best thing ever. They're probably not going to win. They might, because there is a little friction between Matt Hardy and Private Party. Could see them breaking them up anytime soon. Letting Private Party go on their own, because they should, because they're amazing. And then I do believe this is going to slowly be the turn, or kind of way Hangman slowly starts joining the Dark Order, because like BTE, as Dennis alluded to, there was a party, I think it was this or last episode, where there was like a big party, everybody got drunk, Hangman came in, he's like, yeah, I'm not joining, like he called it like the dark orgy, because they were just going crazy, and that he kind of alluded to that on this episode of Dynamite. But they're the only ones that are accepting him. You don't see anybody hanging out with Hangman, and then once he heard Kenny won the title and he heard all the sounds, he just walked away and just took his drink with him.
Speaking of one more reference to this week's BTE, again, guys, if you're not watching this, you need to. It is some of the funniest stuff out there. It really shows how good some of these guys that don't necessarily get a lot of TV time are and stuff. But how awesome was the segment that introduced John Silver's next challenger to the BTE title? They literally played Evil Uno.
Oh,
I mean, how just, my God, that is just, first they made eating a hot chip entertaining. Then they made throwing mustard packets into a little bowl entertaining. And now Uno's a fun game enough as it is. But man, there's just something about these guys. These guys can turn anything into gold.
Yeah.
Let me also throw a shout out to Evil Uno, man. Evil Uno's looking great. I don't know what he's doing, like DDJ, man. Evil Uno's been losing weight. Both of them down there about to slim down to the lightweights.
Telling you, 205. You'll see me on 205 Live eventually. Maybe a guest commentator or something. I ain't wrestling.
You're not going after Santos Escobar's cruiserweight title.
Do I look like I can go after Santos Escobar's cruiserweight title?
I have faith in you.
Well, thank you, Jovanni. I appreciate that. Spencer? No? Okay, fine. I see how you are.
I'll support you in whatever you do, DDJ. You're a member of the Junkyard and PWJ, so I love you, man.
For life.
For life, indeed. So that's about all I had for AEW.
Wait. Actually, there was one other thing that I definitely think we need to talk about from AEW.
Go ahead.
It's a certain giant that used to be. We had a little bit of a basketball reference earlier.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot about this.
Bring that up, that segment, because clearly they're going somewhere with this. I mean, it was an interview that Tony Schiavone did with Shaquille O'Neal and Brandy Rhodes. Brandy's arm was in a sling selling the attack from Jade Cargill, who I believe appears to be part of Vicky Guerrero's little stable that she seems to have building up in that. Yeah. But, it started out, Shaq was talking about, how big of a wrestling fan he is, which he is. He's been on a few shows, made a few appearances and things like that. But after, and then everything looked like it was all hunky-dory between Shaq and Brandy Rhodes. But then Shaq had to say one more thing, and that was basically, he's like, you need to, watch yourself or something like that. And boy, did that set Brandy off. And that, so, I mean, like I said, it basically, Shaq just was almost like he couldn't let it be. And Brandy took exception to that, threw the water in his face and stormed off. So we are definitely going somewhere with Shaq. So, and
DJ.
No, God, no.
You did this to yourself.
No,
DJ. I was just trying to help her, DDJ, just trying to help her because I told Cody, I said, Cody, I don't know why Jake did that. I said, Cody, I didn't. Shaq, sorry, but DDJ, I don't know why that happened, but she threw water on me, and I said, Phil, she threw water on me. Phil said, I don't know what you're talking about, Shaq, and I said, Phil, Brandy threw water on me. I told Cody, and Cody said, well, Shaq.
Can you mute his mic, please?
Guys, left.
Remember back when I said that Remember back when I said your Mike Tyson impersonation sounded like Bobby Boucher trying to do Mike Tyson?
Yes.
Your Shaq impression sounds like Bobby Boucher trying to do Shaquille O'Neal.
You trying to tell me I got a speech impediment that comes from all my impressions?
No, I'm just saying you sound like Bobby Boucher trying to do Shaq impression. I know you can speak fine.
So you don't like my Shaq?
Isn't it obvious?
I mean, Shaq loves DDJ.
Well, Shaquille O'Neal, if you're really out there listening, I am so sorry that you're being subjected to this horrible impersonation.
He was just on the line, DDJ. I mean, I don't understand why it's hard.
Just right there.
Yeah,
wow.
Everybody watching the video clip, he was a call-in caller.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Before we move on to whatever else this is, because anything to get Jovan away from doing these Shaq impressions, please.
That was actually Shaq. Come on.
Let's just give a shout out to AEW for barely just coming just shy of breaking that 1 million viewer mark.
Yeah.
They finished everything was 995, like 995.
Hell, were the other 500,000 people? We should have broken that.
Yeah.
Well, if they would have broken 500,000 more people, that would have put them at almost 1.5 million. You mean 5,000?
5,000.
But still, shout out to AEW because I mean they did a monster rating this week. So
they did.
Yeah, they did.
Do you know where I think those other 5,000 people were?
Where?
They were watching NXT for one Scarlett Bordeaux. Whew.
Ooh, smoke show.
Feel my beating heart.
So that transitions us into NXT, and the only thing I know about NXT is a Karrion Kross. He is back. I think he interrupted Finn Balor. Well, sorry, Scarlett Bordeaux interrupted Finn Balor, but then Karrion Kross came back and attacked Damian Priest.
Yep.
But man, Scarlett Bordeaux, Karrion Kross, one, you are a lucky SOB, and Scarlett Bordeaux, just keep doing whatever you're doing. You're looking good, girl.
Spencer, real quick before we move on, I'm putting you on the spot. Scarlett Bordeaux or Anna Jay?
That's just evil. Why would you do that? Oh, that's oh god.
Tough one there, DDJ.
That's an impossible decision. And I know people are screaming at me. It's like, what are you kidding? Scarlett Bordeaux is a smoke show. I'm sorry, there is something about Anna Jay, and I don't know.
The correct answer would have been, Spencer?
Is it both?
I would have been like you could have been like Tommy Dreamer. I can take them both on. I'm hardcore. That's the answer. So, but go on. I'm sorry.
We are a family-friendly podcast, DDJ.
Are we?
Are we?
Probably not.
Question mark. You don't become a family-friendly show talking about Eskimo brothers, and I'm always on there. So
true, very true.
Jovanni, how about we make this even harder on Spencer? Let's make it a 3-way. Add Tony Storm into the mix.
I'll take that fall.
All right, we are so far off the rails, Spencer. I'm sorry. Let's get back on the track.
I don't even know where the rails are.
Going off the rails.
Oh god! And now Jovan's singing. That's literally all I had from NXT. Go ahead and talk about it.
He just wanted to talk about the smoke show.
So yeah, you alluded to it when you were talking about the return of Karrion Kross, which for one, I am super glad he's back because he is awesome. But the show started out with Finn Balor coming out saying, all right, you know what? War Games is over with. Now it's my turn and stuff. Then you had a few guys step up, say, you know what? They want the next shot. You had Kyle O'Reilly. You had Pete Dunne. Then you had Damian Priest and stuff. Obviously, it looks like Damian Priest is out of the equation for right now because he was taken out by Karrion Kross.
Right.
Looks like we're getting, I believe it's just announced sometime earlier today or on Friday, that we're getting Kyle O'Reilly versus Pete Dunne in a match where the winner will go on to face Finn Balor at their New Year's Evil show, which that is going to be a great match. Actually, both those matches are. Yes. But you got that. You got Raquel Gonzalez with another big time win.
Big win.
Like they're really putting her on track, to like she's getting that push. And again, I said it when we did our War Games post game show. She's getting the ball, and I think Raquel Gonzalez is actually running with it. So I'm very happy. She's really starting to grow on me. I think she's really finding her true inner self and really bringing out that inner big woman that's inside of her.
Yeah. Hey, DDJ.
Yo.
Are they all in on Raquel Gonzalez?
I
know. I couldn't resist someone. Go ahead.
But I mean, so there was NXT was a good show. I mean, it clearly their backs are against the wall right now because of AEW, which week in and week out consistently, they're outdrawing NXT. But the sheer fact that Impact Wrestling totally outdrew, in terms of ratings, they outdid NXT. Like I said before, that doesn't make WWE stand up and take notice. I don't know what will. But I mean, it wasn't for a lack of effort because these guys week in and week out, they still go out there and put on a great show.
So to the WWE fans and you loyalists, guys, don't kill us. We're giving them due props, but we're just saying a little bit of smoke is in the air with the way that Impact was able to draw this week.
We want everybody to be good. We want all the shows to be watchable.
Yes.
It kills me as a wrestling fan of over 30 years, and pretty much I started watching wrestling with WWE to see where they're at. They've shown glimpses they can be good. I want them to be good on a consistent week in, week out basis because like I said before, when every wrestling organization is putting out a good product, the fans win.
That's right. We got to do it for the fans, not The Rock.
Right.
Oh, that's a shout out to an old segment here on Call Out on the Junkyard. We do it for the fans, not for The Rock.
Right.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about on NXT, or kind of just we'll go on to the main shows and run through those real quick?
I'm good to the E.
Okay. I mean, we're on the E, but we'll go to like the main shows of the E, the big ones. But before we do, there was a report that came out, and I want to talk about this. Vince McMahon is unhappy with the way some wrestlers are performing in the ring. Names such as, yes, we had to talk about this. Dio Madden, Dabba-Kato, AJ Styles' bodyguard. What was the name again? Almost. Otis, who was the Money in the Bank winner this year, still can't believe that happened. And a name that honestly shocks the hell out of me when I saw this, and that is Keith Lee. Vince, I think you lost your damn mind. Keith Lee is an amazing wrestler. Otis maybe needs a little bit of work, but Keith Lee should not be being sent to the Performance Center to have like 2 extra like workouts or whatever the hell you're doing to him. You're already putting him in a singlet. You gave him terrible music. I know that was the whole CFOs and stuff like that. Now he's got somewhat better music now. You're kind of burying the guy. Just send him back to NXT. Send all the dudes back in main roster that you're basically destroying on the main roster. Send them all back to NXT. Aleister Black, Ricochet. There's multiple names I can probably think of. Send them all back.
You know what? I'll do you one better. Don't send them back. Just let them go and let them go. Let them go somewhere where they can be utilized properly.
Yeah.
Let them go.
Yes.
Oh God.
I know, for real. But seriously, yeah. Like, there's an abundance of talent in WWE, but these people have no idea what to do with it, because I know, like, we're going to talk about Raw and SmackDown now. I'm going to be honest. Didn't watch them. I don't think there might have been a few things of note. You guys can get into that. But like the big shows this week were Impact and AEW. So I wanted to make sure we spent adequate amounts of time of those. But go ahead. I want to hear y'all's thoughts on this whole thing with wrestlers being sent down and who is going.
Okay, Spencer, first off, Vince did not just forgotten to take his meds, because he's lost his mind a long time ago.
Very true. Very true.
And that's so. First off, how can a guy like Omos and how can a guy like Dabba-Kato be performing horribly when, since Raw Underground mysteriously vanished, we have not seen, the only mention of Dabba-Kato was that he got drafted to Raw. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen him since. We have not seen Omos in the ring. He is not performing in the ring right now. He is performing as AJ Styles' bodyguard.
Right.
So I don't get it. You know what? With Mace or Deal Man, whatever you want to call him, you know, he really, and no pun intended, gotten a Raw deal just from the start, because I mean, he was brought on as a commentator, only lasted a few weeks, got dropped by Brock Lesnar, then got saddled with this horrible gimmick, and now he's being told he needs, you know, it's just, I actually feel bad for him.
Right.
I don't know what happened with Otis, because it seemed like only a few months ago Vince was like so high on Otis and was wanting to make him like, you know, like a legit top guy, which going into WrestleMania, Otis was on fire. I mean, he was clicking in all cylinders. He got the girl. You know, he got that win at WrestleMania that kind of put the bow on the gave that story a happily ever after. And it gave people like, you know, me, you know, the guys out there, you know, well, like I said, I'm incredibly lucky, and, you know,
all of us.
Yeah, you know, and stuff. But like, he gave that, like, you know, that the hope to guys out there that said, hey, maybe that could be me someday, you know, in terms of, you know, maybe not being the best looking guy out there, but can land, you know, a pretty decent looking woman. And then all of a sudden, then he wins Money in the Bank and everything. And then all of a sudden, you know, he loses his partner who, God, who knows? Can someone find out what happened to Tucker?
He's been future endeavored, probably.
It wouldn't surprise me. And it's a shame. But I mean, then you know, obviously he loses his Money in the Bank contract to Miz, which, okay, I'll give that. I think Miz is much better suited to hold something like that.
Right.
You know, and just now to being said that, you know, he's not good enough and he needs to perform more. It's just, I don't know if it's just like Vince sits in his office like, you know what? I think I'm just going to kill this man's career. You know what? I don't like him anymore. Stop pushing him. And that's so, because I feel like that's what he does. It's like he starts and stops with these guys way too much, and I can guarantee you a certain Triple H, it just I as much as he loves Vince because Vince is his father-in-law, I can guarantee you he cannot wait for the day for Vince to finally step aside and be like, you know what, this is your kingdom now, because Triple H, and I don't blame him. Triple H puts all this time and effort into these guys. Like, the only guy I don't think I think he's pretty much had a hand with every single one of these guys you just mentioned, because they've all gone through NXT. But he looks at what the work he put in with, you know, Otis is part of Heavy Machinery, you know, and Keith Lee with what he did in his time there. And then he sends these guys get called to the main roster. And you got Keith Lee wrestling on Main Event win 2 months ago after beating Randy Orton clean in the middle of the ring on a pay-per-view. It's just like, what must be going through Vince McMahon's mind all of a sudden? It's like, you know what? Stop pushing this guy. You know, he's no good anymore. It's just, I don't get it.
Tag me in. Hot tag.
Hot tag, Jovanni.
Bam. He's got the hot tag and he's coming in hot. That might be a new segment, guys. Wait for the hot tag with Jovanni Too Hotty. Now, here's the hot tag. I'm going to jump in right now and tell you guys what happened with Otis. They broke Otis and Mandy up.
Yep.
Otis, while they were together, was going up. Otis's sales were probably going up. Everybody was loving Otis. Their segments were probably going up.
Mm-hmm.
They separate them, and Otis starts going down and down. I bet Otis's sales tank. Vince see that and says, "Oh, this guy wasn't over. You told me he was over. Pull him." And there goes Otis's push. Now he needs to go back to developmental. I'll tell you why about that in a second. Keith Lee debuts, goes against Randy Orton, has a great match with Randy, pins him clean.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to his official roster debut, Survivor Series, Keith Lee looked unstoppable. He looked good.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it came down to him versus Roman Reigns in that tag match, that elimination.
Yeah. In the match, it came out to them two, and he looked really good. He had a feeling.
Rollins clean that night.
Yeah. So I mean, he's Keith Lee has skins on the wall. The first ever NXT double champion.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you what happened. Hunter is building Keith Lee up. You saw what he did at the Survivor Series. He just got both the belts in NXT. This guy is super over. We can bring him up. He'll be super over. Vince brings him up and sees him. Vince doesn't like him. Vince doesn't like his shape. He doesn't like his physique. Vince has a mindset on what he likes to see in the ring. Unfortunately for Keith Lee, it's not him, but Vince gives him a try. Let's put him against Randy. Randy's a good worker. Put him in there with Randy. Keith Lee goes over. Keith Lee starts to get over with the fan base, and then they are changing his music. They're changing his look. The fans are starting to turn not on Keith Lee, but on the product, because what are you doing to Keith Lee?
Yep.
Vince is starting to say, "Oh, Triple H, you told me this guy was over. Well, what happened?" Well, yeah, he was over, and you killed him by changing him.
Mm-hmm.
We stopped supporting because we don't want you to think that that's okay. So out of nowhere now, it's send him back. I told you he didn't have the look. He doesn't have the look. And that's not the issue with Keith Lee. I'm telling you, the best thing that will happen to the Keith Lee is he's able to get out of his contract and go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Best thing that could happen to him. Not even going back to NXT. Keith Lee needs to get out.
Agreed.
Otis.
Yep.
Otis. I loved Otis, but there's more reason to why Otis went down than Keith Lee. Otis could stay in NXT and be perfectly great because his fan base is there.
Mm-hmm.
People were behind Otis there. Now, Dio Madden, Dabo Kato, and almost, whatever his name is.
Almost. OMOS, I believe, is what they...
Almost are what you call collateral damage. Those three just had to go in there so it didn't look like Vince was picking on the big dudes.
Okay.
I'll leave it there.
I could definitely see that. Like Keith Lee and Otis were like his main targets, and was like, okay, let's take these other three. No one really cares about really, and we'll just kind of put them under there. But this is our two main ones, so I could definitely see that, and I 100% agree with you. When you first started, before you started talking, I was like, oh yeah, just send them all back to NXT. But now I'm totally on board. Keith Lee, just run out your contract, go to AEW, just go somewhere else where they will treat you like the star that you are, because Keith Lee is a damn star, as you saw in NXT. First double champion, got booked like a monster at Survivor Series last year. Just ruined when he got on the main roster.
You know where I would love to see Keith Lee land, and I think he would be a god?
Impact.
No,
dude.
I would love to see him in New Japan.
Because think about guys like over there. Think about guys like Big Van Vader. Think about Bam Bam Bigelow.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys were amazing and revered over in Japan. I think Keith Lee would be on that level. So if Keith Lee can get out of his contract and this pandemic clears up, Keith Lee, if you're listening to this, most likely you're probably not, but if you are, thank you for listening. Thank you to everybody who is listening to this.
Yeah.
Keith Lee, do yourself a favor and go sign with New Japan, because I guarantee you go over there and they will treat you like a god.
Brother, look at Jeff Cobb. Jeff Cobb is a bit of a stockier frame.
He's in that mold, yep.
And he is killing it over there. He's part of one of the hottest factions that are starting up down there right now. With,
my God.
Yeah. So, Keith Lee, there is greener grass. What?
I'm sorry. What was the name of their group? Or it's
something weird. Hold on. It's
Looks like DDJ is going to look it up right now.
I'm gonna look it up. Keep talking. I'll look it up real quick.
when I first heard of it, I was like, oh, that kind of sounds like Imperium, but it's not. It's
But yeah, I'll interject here. I think Keith Lee is like I think it's just Jeff Cobb, Will Ospreay, and then like
the Empire.
The Empire.
That's what it was. And it's just like those three right now, but he could definitely be a great fit in that group.
Yes. The Great Okan,
Yes.
Will Ospreay, and
Jeff Cobb.
And Will Ospreay's woman, B. Priestley, part of that as well, too. Can't forget her.
I never forget about B. Priestley.
You just did.
Yes, yeah. Technically, Spencer's right, Jovan, just because I had to remind you. So.
Fine.
But no, I'm again, yeah. It's just like I said, I'm kind of with that too. It's just again, it's just I honestly, and I think the funny thing is WWE nowadays is kind of like that toxic girlfriend or toxic because no matter how badly she or he, no matter how badly your significant other treats you, you always go back for more, and that is the perfect way to what to think of the WWE right now is that toxic relationship.
Yep,
that's the perfect way to describe that. And let's just kind of get back into that toxic relationship. Yep. Raw and SmackDown. What do you guys want to talk about real quick?
Jovanni, you got anything? Because I'm gonna let you talk for a while. I need to rest my vocal cords.
Oh, brother, that sucks. We kind of already done our Raw little recap.
Randy Orton Fiend.
Big thing is, I'll let you talk about that one. I think the one I'm going to hit on is what I like to is AJ Styles is kind of getting a little bit of momentum going into TLC.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I don't think AJ is going to win at TLC, which would be awesome. But I think this storyline is going to kind of be pushed along by the impending feud with McIntyre and Sheamus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down for that feud for one or two reasons. One, I think Sheamus is getting up there where this may legitimately be his last run at the top.
Yeah.
And to me, there's nobody more deserving than Sheamus because he's done everything the company has wanted for him to do. When he debuted, he had one of the better rookie years in a very long time.
Yes, he did.
And he's just consistently always been, no pun intended, the bar for men his size. So Sheamus, I think, getting this good rub, at least getting this last little run in, plus the history he has with Drew. I love storytelling, so that kind of builds into it.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, that was one of the only highlights besides the Fiend item that I'll let you take over.
So we kind of got a little bit of, before I get into that, we did kind of get a little bit of sneak peek of what to expect with Drew and Sheamus like backstage after that match. Because, the end of the match was Sheamus mistakenly bro kicked Drew. And, when I think they were backstage and I think Sheamus was being interviewed by, I don't know who it was. One of the lovely young ladies they have doing the backstage interviews nowadays. I know it wasn't Kayla Braxton because I think she's exclusively on SmackDown, but they did the thing, like where the late girl was talking to Sheamus and then Drew came back. It's like, what was that? Next thing you know, they're fighting each other, and I believe the segment ended with them putting both of them together, putting Pat Buck, WWE producer, through a table.
Yep,
and that's so. This is going to kind of hold feed in going back to Braun Strowman a little bit. Something has to come down with Drew and Sheamus for attacking an official, because if Braun's getting indefinitely suspended for Adam Pearce, something should happen to these two guys for putting an official through the table, because otherwise, there's just something wrong with, the way
nothing's going to happen because Braun was injured and Braun needs the time off. These two guys are your two big guys. Nothing's going to happen. I guarantee it.
Jovanni, I was trying to keep it kayfabe, so
I guarantee it. No,
but I mean, that's basically that. But the thing, I really just, again, I really like what they're doing with this Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton storyline, because again, it's playing back into the whole, their past, which again, I've always been a big proponent of. Anytime two guys hook up after a while, you bring back the past history, and they've done a great job with this. It seems as if, Randy Orton has found the Fiend's one weakness, that being Alexa Bliss, which that's going to make any guy weak. So who we can. But I just want to say, because it looks like we were all set to have Randy Orton versus the Fiend at TLC, but we ended up getting a match what wound up being the main event of Raw, where it was Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt. They have their match, and then at the end, it comes down, the lights go out, and next thing you know, Randy Orton sees the Fiend in the mask, mandible claw out and stuff. So it's real. I really like how they're kind of treating, Bray Wyatt and the Fiend as like these two separate entities,
yes,
and stuff like that. But they were both able to interweave both those in a match, and obviously, we can tell that there was probably some editing done there and that, but it made for a great effect. And I really think stuff like that does nothing but benefit the Fiend character. And just the mind games that these guys are playing with each other. It's just, I would say right now, Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton's the best thing going on Raw.
yes.
So that's another hot take. So
double down on Raw with my last take on Raw, and that is, and your new WWE Tag Team Champions, the Hurt Business. Guys, the Hurt Business has officially been given a match against
New Day
at TLC.
Dear God,
my hot take is the Hurt Business is winning.
They almost have to win at this point. It's just because it's going to get to that point where if they don't win, the New Day's going to start falling under the Triple H syndrome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because we all love the New Day and stuff, but man, it's just they can't always win. And this is the time where if you really want to make some people, make Cedric Alexander, who's uber talented, give Shelton Benjamin, who talk about underappreciated, underrated wrestlers.
Yes.
Give him a title because he has been way overdue for a title.
Mm-hmm.
How long has Shelton been out of the game? Then to come back, and it was like, holy hell, he's not missing a step at all. This guy is going full force.
Yep.
Plus, legitimize the damn Hurt Business. Give them a good win. Let's get those titles on them. Have a almost prophecy fulfilled. Have them having the U.S., the tag team. And then, nobody really can go after Drew right now to that group. Hell,
right.
At least make that your mid-card to go after the Hurt Business.
Right. And, I think right now, I love MVP. And when we do a little bit of a sneak peek to what we got planned for our last episode of the year, a little sneak peek maybe for comeback story or comeback player of the year. I definitely think if we're talking comebacks or, whatever you want to call it and stuff, MVP has to be part of the conversation because since he came back at the Royal Rumble, he has been one of the shining stars on Monday Night Raw. And really right now, I think he is at his best being that mouthpiece for Bobby Lashley and, Ben Shelton and Cedric.
Earmark this time frame, junkies. That way when we do our end of the year special, because I'm going to want to dig into MVP as well, just because of the story that goes behind it. I won't do the whole story tonight, but listen to this part, then listen to our final at the end of the year, because I'll give you the whole story at the end of the year recap.
Ooh.
Yeah, I actually have a hot take. Jovan, I know you want the Hurt Business to win those titles, and they will. It will not be at TLC. It will be at Royal Rumble.
Oh.
They will find some way for the New Day to keep those titles because Royal Rumble is one of their big four, and I could see them wanting to get a big win on that show. So I don't think it'll be at TLC.
Okay, we'll see.
I just have a feeling, but I could definitely see Her Business somehow getting those titles at TLC, and then I hopefully they don't just drop them right away to the New Day or something, or if they do, just flip flop them back and forth and make them mean something, like maybe have something going on like when they did with the Usos or something.
He's got a feeling.
Tonight's gonna be a good night.
Oh my god, guys! Sorry in advance for all this thing and stuff. It's late when we're recording, but still powering through for the people.
We're doing it for you guys.
Do it for the people.
People power.
Oh Lord,
we are the real people's champions.
That's right.
We the people. Okay, we all did the Jack Swagger thing.
Yeah.
All right. SmackDown. Hit me with that real quick. What happened?
Kevin Owens
Yeah.
just made. I mean, you got the Kevin Owens is right now, and this is going to be another hot take. Kevin Owens right now is this era Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I have not been this high on Kevin Owens since he came up from NXT with this John Cena feud. This is as hot as Kevin Owens has been since that moment.
Right. Give me 1 second. I got to plug in my laptop here so the battery doesn't dry on me. And
DJ have some technical issues live on the Junkyard.
Actually, no, I'm not. I just had to plug in my laptop. That's it. But I mean, Kevin Owens has been on fire these last few weeks. He's really shown he does not fear Roman Reigns.
Yes.
That's so. And again, just the Roman Reigns is just continuing to just show really that show the world that he is as good as they wanted us to believe he was, and that this is what they should have been doing with him this whole time.
Yeah, it just took 5 extra years to figure that out.
But I mean,
it just took 2 Undertaker matches and 5 years.
Yeah,
in a Royal Rumble.
And a partridge in a pear tree. So, well, Christmas is in less than 2 weeks, so.
Oh no.
But no, kind of going back to this whole thing. Kevin Owens has cut another amazing promo, and that he's basically calling Roman out. It's like, don't send your family out to do, come out and face me or whatever. And Roman's like, are you gonna let him talk about family? And he's always talking to Jey Uso. Like, are you gonna let him talk to me like that? And he sends Jey out, and Jey gets the upper hand at first, but then Owens just turns it around and gets the upper hand, but Roman comes out and just annihilates Kevin, and then he cuts a scathing promo on, where he's bringing Kevin Owens' family into this, and Kevin Owens may be like I said, I said he's the Sarah Stone Cold Steve Austin, but if you've ever seen Kevin Owens, you'd probably think to yourself, man, he's a bit of a dick, a prick, whatever you want to call him stuff. But one thing he is also, and that is a family man. And as a dad, father myself, that you really want to set somebody up, you go after that family, and that is clearly what Roman did. Because man, it's just that promo. It's just like I said, it just goes to show how good that this Roman's Jey Uso storyline continues to be, and how bringing Kevin Owens in, how amazing it was. We're getting a TLC match between these two guys as of when this podcast drops. It'll be this coming Sunday and stuff. But I mean, I'm all in on this match. I think right now, if you ask me what match I'm most excited for on this show, it's KO versus Roman Reigns, because the buildup has been spectacular. And it goes to show you that WWE is capable of putting out a good product if they really want to set their minds to it.
Agreed 110%.
Thank you. And also, too, Sami Zayn just continues to kill it as well, too. He, the whole thing now is Big E's out on his own. He's got new music. He's got a new entrance and stuff. He's trying to establish himself as a legit single star. Sammy, he's clearly shown he's coming after Sammy's title. And Sammy's like, all right, I'll give you a non-title match. You beat me, you get a title match. What does Sammy do? Sammy does what he does best, and he outsmarts the competition.
Yeah.
He slapped Big E to set him off. Then he took off running. They get a little bit entangled underneath the ring, and next thing you know, the ref's counting. He gets to 8. Who pops out from under the ring? Sami Zayn, and he runs into the ring. Big E's trying to hold on to him and stuff, and Sami starts stomping him on the head. Big E has to let go. Sami gets in the ring just before the 10 count, gets a count out win. He does it again. And for all you Sami Zayn fans out there, please go on WWE Shop and check out amazing new shirt. It is just pure. Whoever came up with that design is a genius.
Yes.
Yeah. Probably not the best shirt, but it's definitely worth the look. So go check that out. While we're on the topic of Big E, I want to get this point in here before we move on. give a shout out to Talking Smack. There was an interaction between Paul Heyman and Big E.
I heard about this.
Yes, and Paul Heyman basically, the rough thing was, he told Big E, it's like, you are going to be a massive star, but in order to do that, you need to break away from the New Day. When people see Roman Reigns in the ring, do they think about the Shield anymore? No, they think about the tribal chief Roman Reigns. Like when Seth Rollins was in the ring, did they think about the Shield? No, it's not about the Messiah. He needs to build his own character, and like now with his new music and kind of like, I think the entrance is like a callback to his old NXT entrance when he did like the chalk and everything. It's kind of bringing back to his Singles Day, and so everybody knows and thinks like Big E can definitely be a champion, not just an Intercontinental champion, like a WWE champion, Universal champion. He could legit be a guy that can hold the belt, but he's got to hit another gear. And I think the person that is going to take the title off Sami Zayn probably won't be for any time soon, but the person that will take that title off will be Big E. He'll get an Intercontinental Championship run. And then maybe after Roman's done with the title, or even the person to beat Roman possibly might be Big E.
That's who should take the title from Roman, in my opinion. Given the right build and everything, it should be Big E.
Yeah.
Hot takes.
Yep. Hot takes aplenty tonight.
Mm-hmm.
All you can take.
Well, I'm gonna step off of those two little areas, gentlemen, and go in a different direction, because we've talked just now back to back with titles that should change. Sami Zayn with Big E, possibly Big E, Roman, talking about how good Kevin Owens has been in the Roman situation. These are all great things going on in SmackDown. Let me talk about something which I am fearful can lead to being a horrible thing on SmackDown. Friday night, they had Dolph Ziggler beat Montez Ford.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Right now, the Street Profits don't need to lose. The star of the Street Profits does not need to lose.
Mm-hmm.
This makeshift team of Rude and Ziggler, granted, their pairing isn't okay when they work good together, but you literally just gave the rub to what I think is the future of your tag team division and a future star in your company at Montez Ford.
Yeah.
Just to have them look weak against two guys who are falling into jobber status. Not full jobber status, I will say mid-carders.
Yeah.
Not mid-card title contenders. When was the last time Ziggler was relevant? It's been a while, and he had to sleep with Vicky Guerrero. Rude hasn't been great since he was glorious in NXT. So,
yeah.
Hot take, SmackDown, leave the Street Profits alone. They're the best thing that you've got in the tag team division as a whole, not just SmackDown, as a whole.
Yeah.
So please, I don't want them to do this weird taking the belts off of them. They're going to flip-flop it between them and Ziggler, because to me, they need to look strong right now. They just got the rub of the century. They need to keep
Yeah, I was just going to say, and you kind of, gave me a perfect segue, Jovanni. Remember back at when we were talking Survivor Series and we were doing our post-game show, what were the 3 words I used as the description for that match between the New Day and the Street Profits? Do you remember?
I don't.
Passing the torch.
Mm-hmm.
Passing the torch.
Clearly, the Street Profits had the torch passed to them by the New Day, and it doesn't do the Street Profits any good to be handed a torch and then basically dropping it right off the bat. I mean, and that's like I said, I like Ziggler, I like Rude, but yeah, just I think this is a clear example of the crappy 50-50 booking that WWE just seems to, at least on the main roster, seems to live by.
Yep.
And stuff. But I mean, no, you recently gave the Street Profits the rub as your main tag team in the WWE. And yeah, it's just I don't get it either. So clearly I hope, because it just makes all the sense in the world to keep the belts on the Street Profits, because again, they're right now, when it comes to your tag team division, they're your bread and butter.
Yep. And I know they're selling merch like a MF. It has to be going through the roof.
Just imagine if Solo, the ones that make the plastic cups, became a sponsor.
Oh,
Yes.
Maybe they already are. You know?
Maybe. All right. Anything else you guys want to hit on SmackDown?
I think we got everything.
I think that's it, man.
Okay. I just thought about this. Wasn't there a new Thunderdome that showed up on SmackDown?
Yeah.
Yes.
I honestly, what I saw on TV didn't look any different than what I'd seen before.
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
But instead of playing, doing their shows where the Orlando Magic play, now they're doing their shows where the defending American League champion Tampa Bay Rays play.
That hurts.
How do you think I feel being a White Sox fan?
Brother, I'm a Rangers fan. Don't cry me. We've never won one.
You came within one strike 1 year, I believe.
Twice. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sox did win one, 2005, and I guarantee you the White Sox are going to win one in the next 3 years here. We are stacked and ready to go.
I can't say that about my Rangers. We're still circling the toilet, boys. We're going to do it 1 year in the next 10 years. Maybe. We have a new stadium, though. It's nice. That's all we got.
Yeah, here's hoping my Braves can break the curse and stop losing all the big games.
Brother, if they lose the game, they lose all these games, you're just going to go root for another team. I mean, just like you do in the NFL.
Look, man, the Braves haven't been good since Ricky Vaughn stopped pitching. They need to bring back Vaughn.
Wait, Ricky Vaughn played for the Cleveland Indians. What are you talking about, Atlanta Braves?
Hey, I was just trying to get a Ricky Vaughn reference in there, but I knew he was in Cleveland.
You're going to reference Ricky Vaughn, who's the greatest relief pitcher in baseball movie history. Get the right team. Come on, man.
I just wanted to say Ricky Vaughn.
Wild thing.
That's it.
All right, with Jovan got his Ricky Vaughn reference, and I think we're done with This Week in Wrestling because it is clearly going off the rails late in the junkyard.
Did we ever get back on the rails?
No, we've been off the rails for a very long time.
This is our best episode yet, episode 7.
The day the junkyard went off the rails. The final episode of the junkyard now. But no, I think it's time. We've been alluding to it. Let's just kind of get into it now, and that is going to be our weekly roundtable. All right, gentlemen. So we have been alluding to shows that we have been to live. Like the big one is All In, and we will talk about that. But I want to start smaller. So for this week's weekly roundtable, I would like to talk about shows you guys have been to. It could be any promotion, big, small, independent, whatever. What has been some of your favorite live shows? But before we get into that, we are in an era right now, the COVID-19 era, and it has impacted wrestling in a big way.
Yes,
there used to be crowds. It used to be wild. It used to be loud. But now, and we actually watched a little bit of Triple Mania before we started this, Kenny Omega versus the Laredo Kid, and there was absolutely no one there, and it was just abysmal, just the atmosphere. The match was good. It's just the atmosphere and everything. And then you got Impact. They don't have no fans. WWE, they have the Thunderdome. AEW, they decided to put wrestlers in the crowd. Smartest decision ever.
They have fans, though.
Huh?
They have real people.
Yeah, they actually have people, you know, and that sells.
Yeah, like, and NXT does too in the Capitol Arena.
Center, yeah.
Yeah, Capitol Wrestling Center. So yeah, just let's talk about that first, because and then we'll get into like our favorite shows. But with this COVID-19 era, how important is it now for there like to be fans and to have interaction and not just be, you know, like a silent arena? Because now we've seen those effects greater than they've ever been. So just kind of talk on that.
Jovanni, you want to go first, or do you want me to take this?
I'll take it.
Go for it.
Give you some time to rest your vocals.
Yeah.
Goodness, Spencer, with that kind of question, man, I mean, it's something that Yeah, and it's a lot. It's a lot of 2020. You're going to hear this about this year recap, man. Whenever someone talks about 2020, it's the things that you didn't expect to miss that you missed. Things that you would never have, things you took for granted, right?
Yeah.
And for wrestling fans, sports fans, the crowd, you're watching it at home. You're like, oh, I'd rather watch it at home. I'm by myself. It's a better seat. I see more of the field on my TV than if I was live.
Right.
But that atmosphere that transfers over to the TV when you're watching a game, you don't have that now.
Mm-hmm.
And the companies who haven't made the adjustment to try to figure out a way to give that same stimulation, they're falling flat. Wrestling, especially when it comes to wrestling, a lot of it is crowd based. You hear old school wrestlers saying, we never called matches. We just went with the feeling of the crowd. If it was getting heat, I was going dirty. If it wasn't getting heat, we switched to another tactic. But they felt it off of the crowd. And to me, it's ridiculous now. You have people who still try to do that, and it's crowdless because it's in their repertoire. They're playing to a crowdless arena.
Mm-hmm.
They'll stop and do one of those, like what? What are you going to say after a dirty move? Or the good guy's trying to hype himself up in an empty arena by hitting the mat and trying to get everybody to clap. No one's going to be there to clap for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, man, it's the ones who haven't figured out how to do it yet need to immediately figure out a way to get that emotion back in. Because their matches can be great, just like Kenny Omega and Laredo Kid, but your big spots fall flat because there's no heart in it. You have the technical ability, but there's no heart in the matches because the fans aren't there.
Right. So what? Very well put, Jovanni. I really don't have too much more to add to that, other than the only thing I'm going to say, because again, basically for me to say what I'm thinking, it's rehash what Jovanni just said. So, and I think I had this talk with you guys, and I've had this talk with many people. If this pandemic has shown me one thing when it comes to a professional wrestling event, it showed me just how vital the crowd is when it comes to a wrestling show, for the reasons Jovanni laid out. We talk about just like, things, how just this pandemic has really affected not only professional wrestling, but all major professional sports. I mean, we're seeing NFL games with no crowds. I mean, where it's to the point where you can hear the plays being called on the field.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even need like the stadium mics or whatever. And it's just like Jovanni also said, you can be one of those that's like, oh yeah, I'd rather watch from the comfort of my own home and stuff like that. And especially when it comes to concessions, like refreshments and stuff, that's the case, because that is the one thing about going to a live event, not only wrestling, but sports event, that I do not look forward to, is because that stuff is so ridiculously overpriced.
Yes, it is.
But I mean, they're like, there's nothing like being in the arena for a professional wrestling event, be it a show like WrestleMania, all the way up at WrestleMania, versus sitting at some VFW hall with like 100 other people, at an independent show. I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I've been to WrestleMania. I've been to an independent show, and it's just this. There really is nothing like being there live.
Yep.
I mean, if you can get a close enough seat, you can get some interactions with the wrestlers, especially at the independent shows. Who knows? You may catch somebody's souvenir. Think about all those fans that caught the Rock's elbow pads or were given the Bret Hart shades and stuff like that. And it's just there's nothing like that. And then when you go there, like if you go there with your friends, even if you go there by yourself. One of my favorite things about a live wrestling show is I can go to a show by myself, which I have done. I'll wind up sitting next to someone and we'll start talking, and it'll be like I've been talking with someone I've known for, months.
Yes.
It harkens back to why I think wrestling fans are the best fans out there, because it is like the easiest way to make friends is go to a wrestling show.
Yes.
And that's so.
Let me dig in here real quick, DDJ, to add in before you finish.
Yeah.
What we're trying to boil down to, and it's what DDJ said with The Rock, and it's something that I think people didn't appreciate when The Rock was wrestling. They called him the most electrifying man in sports entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
The reason is because in all your big matches, say your WrestleManias, your Wrestle Kingdoms, every big show that's built up as a big show has that certain electricity in the air, and you can feel it between you and these thousands and thousands of people. That electricity in the air, you're waiting for the first big pop to happen because it's just going to blow the roof off and you're gone from there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what The Rock was able to do constantly in all his matches. He brought that electricity, and I think that's what we're missing right now in wrestling is that electricity in the air. But I'll bring it back to you, DDJ.
I really wasn't going to add too much more beyond what I was saying and stuff because, again, you did such a great job, basically, kind of in your own way. Yes, heart emoji. Like you in your own way, saying what was on my mind and that. So, but it's just, there's nothing like going to a live event again. It's just something about while I enjoy watching, these shows from the comfort of my dad's old recliner that I have, in my basement or sitting up in the living room watching it with my 5-year-old son and stuff. There's really nothing about being there live and stuff because it's just there's this and I don't think there's a real word to accurately describe it, but it's just the environment, the feeling, just the reactions and just the emotions. It's just there's something. There's no perfect way to describe what that feels like or what the difference is in that. And it's just that is So since this pandemic started, I've been to 2 shows. I went to a Warrior Wrestling show that was held outside at a football stadium, and the setup was awesome. I basically sat about as close to the ring as they would let us. I sat with a small group of people, and man, it was just so much fun just being able to have that experience again. And then when I went to the show with our fellow junkie, Brad Marcus, shout out to Brad, who does a great job with a lot of the content for Pro Wrestling Junkies. It feels right, like being at a wrestling show. And I just hope that the day comes that when we can all start going to these shows more and more often, because I'm not planning on going to another show till the day before my birthday. I've been talking with a lot of the wrestlers that are going to be there. And it's just, I want to see these guys because I consider these people my friends, and it's like I want to go to this so I can go see my friends, and it sucks not being able to do that right now.
I'm going to throw in there where let's get started on this, fellas. Let's go ahead and just start rattling off our favorite ones.
All right, Jovanni, lead us off, my friend.
Now, caveat to my list: prior to becoming an adult who could actually pay for things. My family was, we had the bills paid and that was about it. So there wasn't a lot of money for the extra things, which would have been going to the shows live. I didn't go to my first WWE event until I was an adult, and I took my father to WrestleMania when it was here in Texas, 32.
Nice.
In Arlington. So that was an experience because that was his first ever WWE show. That was my first ever WWE show, and we both went to Mania. So caveat with that, when we start talking about deeper into our list of our favorite matches or our favorite live events, because it's not going to be a lot of WWE. Fortunately, I've only been to the one Mania and one house show. So at least live with WWE. So with that being stated, one of my favorites right now, I think, is going to have to be All Out when I went during the pandemic. And the reasoning for that is, man, this whole lockdown has been a beating, even though, I don't know how seriously everybody takes the lockdown. I'm in Texas, and honestly, I work from home. I don't leave my apartment very often. When I do, it's going to get groceries, and I'm coming back, but I'm getting the groceries ordered online, and they're putting in the car, and I'm literally never outside my car until I come back and unload. Then I drive to my mom's house, see her once a week just to make sure she's going good, and then I come back home. I literally don't do anything. So to have the spare opportunity with my friend Rocky, who was a part of the group, shout out Rocky.
What up, Rocky?
He got tickets to All Out, and it was like, man, I got to spare. Anybody want to go? And I said, let's do this. So Me being very cautious, I hopped on the plane from Dallas to Jacksonville, and man, I must have looked crazy because I had gloves, hand sanitizer, mask. I went with my own like sanitary napkins to wipe down the chairs because I was like, dude, I swear I've been at home this whole time, and if I catch anything on the plane, I'm gonna be pissed. So luckily, the plane was very clean. They gave you napkins to wipe down your seats. There was nobody sitting next to me. I had one guy in front of me, but he was to the right, and I was in the middle, so it was like we weren't really close to each other. But get to Jacksonville was amazing. Met Spencer for the first time in person down there.
Awesome.
And with the exception of the horribly priced beverages, it was an amazing day.
Yeah.
So that's going to start my list. All out 2020.
All right, DJ.
So I think Spencer and I are probably going to be in an agreement here on our what we feel is our best, the best show we were at live. And so I'm just going to come out with that one. And to me, I've been to a lot of shows over the years. I've been to a ton of WWE shows. I've been to one WrestleMania. I went to WrestleMania 13. I've been to a Money in the Bank show. I've been to tons of house shows, tons of Monday Night Raws, tons of SmackDowns. I've been to ECW shows, which I'll talk about a little bit later. I've been to a TNA show. I've been to tons of independent shows. But to me, anytime I talk about like the best shows I've ever been to, the list starts at All In.
Yes.
Which Spencer, for those of you not watching this on YouTube and listening to this, Spencer is proudly displaying his All In t-shirt.
I mean, I was displaying, but okay.
Yeah, I said that you were. But
go ahead.
But no, I mean, it just, I remember being excited when I first heard about the concept of what All In was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They just, because it's like, okay, finally a show that's like going to have everything that I'm looking for in a wrestling show. Then the ticket sales got announced, and just knowing just how hard these tickets were going to be to possibly get, what the demand was going to be like. I was lucky enough to, I went with my friend Patrick, and we were both, it was Mother's Day when the tickets went on sale. So I was out at my parents' house with my wife and my kid. And my wife's upstairs. I don't know if she's going to hear this or not. Well, she probably won't hear, but I excused myself to go upstairs and use the bathroom. Not going to lie. I legit had to go, but while I was up there after taking care of business, I got on and, was trying to get tickets. Both me and my friend Patrick were trying to get tickets, and we were one to get tickets. You get them, and you let the other guy know.
Yep.
I kid you not, when I came through and I saw that I had, I put in how many I needed, blah, blah, blah. And they came back with, here where your seat's going to be. And it was 9th row from the ring. I about literally soiled myself, which I was in the right place to soil myself. But just that feeling. And I remember, like, as soon as I got the tickets, I messaged my friend and said, I got 9th row tickets, and he was ecstatic. And he's like, good, because he was having a hard time getting on. And then I remember being like, you know what? I'm just going to see what's out there. And this was about, I think, like maybe 5-10 minutes after I'd gotten my tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Could not find them.
Nope.
And then I remember saying to my friend Pat, like, I think they sold out. And then, the news started circulating. I mean, for that show to sell out, in under a half hour, and it wasn't even a WWE show, was just amazing. And just being able to be a part of that, being able to see Cody Rhodes win the NWA title, which I'm gonna admit, I cried when that happened. I legit had tears in my eyes because I was so happy because, I felt the emotion. Being able to see that, being able to see guys like Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, for like the first time. Seeing the Young Bucks in action live for the first time. It's just, I got to experience so many firsts. Hell, I even went to go use the bathroom and I met Papa Buck in the men's room.
Always back to the men's room.
Yeah. But, of course, I said hello to him and stuff as he was washing his hands, and stuff and that. And I walked out and he came out and I was like, hey, can I get a picture with you? And Mama Buck happened to be outside too. So I actually met both of them. And it's just, I even said to Papa Buck, I'm just saying, I can see where your boys get, why they are the way they are, because if you've ever had the pleasure of meeting the Young Bucks father, he is just an awesome guy.
Yes.
And that, so, but going back to just the whole experience, I mean, just being there, just the environment, the vibe. They built StarCast around this, so because this, this, I got to meet so many guys that I never thought I'd be able to meet in person, and just to think about what All In laid the foundation for, that we would get the announcement of AEW a few months later. It's just, again, I can't talk about wrestling shows that I've been to without talking about All In.
I love that you brought in All In. I was there too, and this is funny. This is a funny side note before we keep going here. Little side story, because I said how I first met Spencer live in person at All Out. I first met DDJ.
Oh, yes.
I didn't even know who DDJ was. We just talked to each other, and I remembered because of what he was wearing. DDJ had on the pink MJF Better Than You shirt with the scarf.
That was All Out. That
was
wasn't
All Out. Yeah, I didn't meet you in All In. I met you in All Out.
Okay. Sorry. Carry on.
And just as a funny thing, because we were all at All In. I was at all. I've been almost every AEW pay-per-view show except for the one in Baltimore. But we were all at all these shows and didn't know each other until the Pro Wrestling Junkies Facebook page kind of brought us in. And then we started talking about doing the Junkyard, and I'm going through like DDJ, and I'm like, okay, he looks oddly familiar to me, and I just don't know. I can't put a finger on it. And he posts a photo of what he was wearing. I said, damn it, that's who that is. I know who I knew him.
Didn't you message me like right after that or something like that?
Yes. As soon as you put that photo up, I was like, bro, you're not gonna believe it, but we actually met.
Yeah.
I remember talking with you at the show. So
but it just goes to show you how small this world really is, and that. So
yeah, man, just start the 6 degrees of separation that they normally say is, with people in between each other. If you're wrestling fans, it's 3. I guarantee you guys will cross paths somehow. Just talk about it. You'll find out.
All right, Spencer, let's hear from you for now. You've been too quiet.
I'm just letting you guys talk, because I think we'll start off because I've been to both of the shows you guys talked about, and I'll talk about my experience. First off, with All Out, me and Jovan, we met there for the first time back in August or September, whenever it was. September. Great show. I took my friend Corbin, who's a member of the Pro Wrestling Junkies group. So shout out to Corbin.
Shout out.
That was his first ever show, his first ever live show going.
Oh, wow.
He's a little nervous, but we had took a road trip.
Talk about the ultimate cherry popper.
Oh man. But so he had a great time. I had a great time. The only bad part was it was hot as hell and we were sweating balls off. I know the wrestlers were miserable too, but
hey Spencer, shout out to you for hooking me up with that poster, by the way, at All Out.
Oh yeah, no problem, man. I got you. But yeah, great show. If everything continues the way it does, Revolution should be in Jacksonville, so might be making a trip down there. We'll see.
Let's do it.
So we'll see about that one. But then going back to Dennis with All In, I had gone to a few, I think a SmackDown show, maybe an NXT show, but this was my first ever pay-per-view. And this was my first ever time traveling out, not outside of Georgia, but flying. I had never flown before. So I was scared. I was traveling on my own. I told my parents, hey, I'm going to this show in Chicago, and that happened in was it 2017 or 2018? I can't remember. 2018. I became I fell back into wrestling late 2016, early 2017. So I had only been a fan again for about a year and a half, and I was like, okay, they're announcing this show. I have to be there. This show is going to change everything. I cannot miss this show. So I got over my fear because I wouldn't even call it fear, but I'm just I was kind of scared. I couldn't get anyone to go with me and get a hotel or anything. So I was like, okay, I have to go on my own. I got to fly for the first time. I'm going to Chicago, which if you've heard things about Chicago, it's not really the best place. So I was scared. But when I got there, I got a bunch of meet and greets at StarCast. I met the Bucks, Cody, Hangman. I was able to meet like Rey Mysterio, and then of course I got to go to some of the pro wrestling tees ones, CM Punk, Okada. I basically spent a lot of money, and I was paying for it long after, but it was totally worth it. And then the show, oh my God, the show was amazing. That made me fall. Like, I was already in love with pro wrestling, and I was just like, you know what? I'm all in. No pun intended, but I was all in.
You're lying. That was totally pun intended.
Oh, it was totally intended. Come on. But yeah, and then like, funny enough, like I on my way to the arena, I was trying to find a ride there, and I met 3 guys which I consider friends to this day. Shout out to Craig, Tony, and Ryan, who are members of the group as well.
Tony and Ryan, what up?
We're just shouting out all our friends tonight on the Junkyard. Hopefully they listen so they can hear their shout outs.
One more shout out. Or do we want to save the one shout out that I think we were referring to, or wanted to make sure we plugged him? Do we want to do that now, or do we want to wait a little bit?
I don't know which one you're talking about, to be honest.
Mr. Justin Wilson.
Plug him.
All right. So shout out to Justin Wilson, who I didn't realize this, I think, until both of you guys brought this, especially Jovanni brought it to my attention. And maybe Jovanni, if you want to kind of go into a little bit more of an elaboration of the very nice things he had to say about the podcast. But just Justin, we thank you so much for your support, your fandom. We love that you love this show.
I believe Justin's words were, "We've topped the first podcast that he looks to listen to."
Yeah.
I think it was Conrad, and then we swooped in there and took the top spot. So
the Junkyard took the top spot.
Much love, Justin. Thank you for supporting us, man. If you guys don't know him in the Pro Wrestling Tees Facebook page, Pro Wrestling Junkies,
there you go.
Facebook page. Excuse me, it's late. Him and Ari Wilson are always in the card breaks, man. Real good people, and they have some luck because, man, I think they're always hitting. But thanks to the Wilson household, Justin Wilson, appreciate you much, buddy. Just keep listening, tell us when we start to slip. Episodes like this one where we go off the rails are probably our best ones. But
yeah, I agree. So I just wanted to make sure we got that in, because just again, for someone to take the time out to reach out to us and say things like that about something that where else we do, it's just we sit around and bullshit talk wrestling and stuff. Basically. And it really validates. I'm sure I can speak for you two guys, but for what he said, it validates why I like to do this podcast, is because of things like that.
We do it for Justin.
Yes.
We didn't do it for The Rock. We did it for you, Justin.
There you go.
We do it for Justin and people like you. Justin, I know you don't have an Apple product, but make sure you go steal somebody's phone and leave us a 5-star review. That'd be much appreciated. And anybody, that goes for you. If you have Spotify, and because Spotify hates reviews and all that crap, go steal a phone, go steal your parents' phone, go do whatever. We encourage all of the criminal illegal activities. Go ahead, that's fine. Joking, find a way.
I would like to say that Spencer does not speak for myself or Jovanni.
I was getting to that.
I want to make sure that my butt was covered just in case. So.
Yeah. Wow, DDJ only cares about his butt, and we know that for a fact. That's all he cares about.
He covered mine too, so I can't be mad at him. He's good with me.
But no,
seriously. I got your back, Jovanni.
just leave a 5-star review. It greatly helps us out, like in the ratings and stuff. And then just leave some kind words. And if you want to, send us a DM too. Justin didn't have to do that, but he went out of his way, so we appreciate that. Yeah,
we encourage. We want this to be not just us talking wrestling. We want our fans and our listeners to get involved with us, because the interactions where it really gets fun.
Are you going to be the next junkie mentioned in the Junkyard? Could be.
Yeah, could be.
Someone who would love to be the next junkie mentioned in the Junkyard.
No.
Yeah, we're going to shut that down. But yeah, so going back to that after that little interruption, but good interruption. Yeah, All In, great show. If you have not seen this show, go out of your way and watch it. I think it's on New Japan World. Fight TV, I think, has it.
It's on New Japan World, but I do believe they did cut. I don't know if it was the whole match or just the post-show segment. They They don't have the whole resurrection of Joey Ryan on there because I think of their
for obvious reasons.
right. But it's also, I believe, the event in its entirety. I'm sure you could probably find it somewhere in YouTube or whatever. But I do believe if you have Honor Club through Ring of Honor, I believe it's on there.
Okay, so yeah, do that and just
Man, that was a crazy spot.
Yeah,
and Ring of Honor. If anybody from Ring of Honor is listening, please just swallow your pride and just put this event out on DVD.
please. I would buy that. Now AEW, they finally started releasing stuff on DVD, and I might get those eventually, probably if they're like really cheap or something. But that wraps. Well, actually, no, that just talks about what you guys talked about. Let me actually talk about what I wanted to talk about, and then I'll let you guys go back onto your things. I was at a show after the announcement of AEW. It was called Come Hell or High Water. It was in Atlanta. I took my buddy Stu, and that was actually our first.
Shout out to Stu.
Shout out to Stu, member of the Card Breaking PWJ Arena and PWJ Group.
My newest Facebook friend, I believe.
Yep, that was his first show we went to together. So they had some amazing matches, and then we heard this is part like when the Bucks were going around to like different independent promotions, and they were kind of teasing it, and we kind of figured out, oh yeah, they're going to be in Atlanta. So it's like, okay, we have to be at the show. And then there was going to be SCU versus the Lucha Bros, and then a bunch of other good stuff. But like, I think Ricky Starks was there, and then you had like a bunch of other AEW stars that were there, but not AEW stars yet. But it was a great show. There was a couple points like Ken Shamrock was there, and they took a fight into the crowd. I don't know if it was a Ken Shamrock match. But there was one match where they went into the crowd and they started fighting like in the crowd, moving all the chairs and everything. And they got like right up on me and like, the bodies were bouncing and everything. It's like, you had to get the hell out of the way or you were going to get like smashed. It was insane. And then there was another like spot where SCU and Lucha Bros were fighting. And Ray Phoenix dives, but he dives a little bit too far, and he goes right into the crowd. But thankfully, he was okay. So that was just insane to see live. So that was probably one of my favorite independent shows I've been to, and one I definitely would. You don't have to go out of your way to see it, but it was definitely a good show for sure. But guys, I'll let you go on with your list now.
So I'm going to kind of just get all my out, just to try to be as brief because there was a few other really memorable shows I had. Again, kind of going back to the independent shows, one of my favorite things about independent shows has always been the interaction the wrestlers have with the crowd. There was this group called Pro Championship Wrestling, PCW, that used to run shows out of Elk Grove Village, Illinois, which right from where I live now, it's about maybe a half hour. So it's a little further out when I used to live in Aurora, Illinois. My best friend and I, we used to go to the shows every show from like late 2002 till about like mid 2003. There was this one show we went to, I believe it was their Halloween show. And this is just kind of like when we were kind of really kind of getting in with the wrestlers, getting to know them, talking with them and stuff. We've been to a few shows. We literally the whole night from the show, we were just like, basically we were so loud that they couldn't help but, not notice us. There was like just these guys that come out and they were like this, almost like a parody of like the mob. I think they even called themselves La Cosa Nostra. They came out with something and they had some Italian food and they were like, who wants this? And somehow we wound up with pieces of garlic bread and spaghetti. And then there was this other guy that was part of the promotion. It's like, I'm not wrestling. I'm just coming to sit out in the crowd. So we were like, over here. So like, so they eventually, literally we got so involved with these shows at the point that like, they actually would do storylines with us. Like this group of fans that I sat with. Like the one thing I remember was there was this guy whose name is Sonny Rogers, who's like a legend in the Chicago area, was wrestling the owner of Pro Championship Wrestling, this guy by the name of P.L. Myers, who's actually a very good friend of mine. He was my very first guest on my very first podcast. And the whole storyline was they were fighting for control of PCW. Sonny Rogers came out and said, if I win this, I'm giving control of PCW to the Rowdies, which was what our fan group was dubbed. Right then and there, we knew that he was losing. But just the sheer fact that we were so in tune with those wrestlers in that show that they put us in something like that was just the coolest thing. So much love to PL Myers, the rest of the guys at Pro Championship Wrestling. They put on a hell of a show. A couple more shows I want to talk about. Obviously, the Chicagoland Championship Wrestling show I went to with Brad Marcus. It was probably it was so much fun. I can't wait to go back there with him in April. I'm definitely not making the same mistake this time of driving home because it was about a 2-hour drive. I'm getting a hotel room because it's about 2 hours away. I went to both ECW pay-per-views that ran in the Chicagoland area, and man, there ain't nothing like a live ECW show because anything and everything does happen in that show. I saw a guy get put through a flaming table. I had, I literally fell out of my chair while the Sandman was making his entrance. He actually stood right next to me, and how do I respond? I fell out of my chair. I told you guys that already. But
yeah.
Man, just they're like, if there was one crowd you ever wanted to be a part of and ever had the chance to be, it was an ECW crowd because, man, if you ever watched an ECW show, you say, man, those fans are so wild. But when you go to an ECW show, it solidified it, and you were one of them. I mentioned All Out in Chicago back last year in 2019 was so much fun. I had second row seats for that facing the hard camera. So if you get the All Out DVD or if you watch it on YouTube or whatever, you can clearly see me. I am for that show. But one of the coolest things was getting to our seats and then actually being interviewed by a guy by the name of Josh Chernoff, who works for Fight TV. Like, we literally got interviewed for Fight TV as they were trying to, sell the show. So that was really cool. But one show that I want to give a shout out to was Impact Wrestling. They actually, I don't know because I haven't been to a show lately, but I went to an Impact Wrestling back when it was still TNA back in 2010. It was at the Sears Center. I got fourth row tickets. I got them pretty late. I forgot how close to the show I got them by managing to get fourth row seats. They did a thing where if you got tickets within the first 4 rows, they would let you in an hour early, and you got to meet a bunch of wrestlers, like literally everybody that was on the card there. I got to meet guys like Jay Lethal, Rhino, Matt Morgan, Angelina Love. I got to meet Beer Money, and stuff. And I mean, just the experience, like, I got to meet Abyss. It was just being able to, like, these guys went all around, like literally everybody on the card except for 2 guys, Samoa Joe and Tommy Dreamer. Were like that were on the card were there. I managed to score a backstage pass. Well, they were selling them, and I bought one because, who wouldn't want to go backstage at a wrestling show? So I got backstage. I got to meet Mr. Anderson. I got to meet Jeff Jarrett, which Jeff Jarrett gets way more crap than he should, in my opinion. That's another hot take. Who else? I met D'Lo Brown, and then making an appearance there just because he was doing a book promotion not too far away. I also got to meet Mick Foley again.
Nice.
And actually, I was taking a picture with Mick Foley, and at the same time I was getting my picture taken, Jeremy Borash was taking my picture of me with Mick Foley and put it out on Twitter. So, I mean, it was just a great show. It was a lot of fun and stuff. So, yeah, obviously, I don't know how the house shows changed after that, but, man, at the time, Impact Wrestling, TNA, whatever you want to call it, put on a hell of a show. So that's basically it. I've been to WrestleMania. Again, saw The Undertaker win the title. I went to AEW Revolution and this is I'm going to go into this little thing here and then I'm done. The greatest match I've ever seen live was at that show, and that was the Young Bucks versus Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. I was there live for Brett versus Austin at WrestleMania during the double turn. But, man, this tag match, greatest match I've ever seen live. So, okay, I'm done.
Nice. All right. I'm going to run through mine, and we're going to make it quick because we're already going a little long.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm going to throw out there that All Out this year just because of the pandemic and how much it meant to actually get out and see people again.
Mm-hmm.
Double or Nothing, first year. I drove to Vegas with a good friend of mine. And that's where during the whole Vegas experience and drinking at random bars and stuff is where I met Rocky. So shout out once again, Rocky. That was cool.
Shout out to Rocky.
One year we go from meeting each other at Double or Nothing to going to All Out. So that was pretty cool. WrestleMania 32, because me and my dad were there when Zack Ryder won the belt. And he had his dad moment, and we both cried like we were little babies. WrestleMania 17 in Houston. I forgot to say that was my first WrestleMania. WrestleMania 32, the first time was my dad's. The WrestleMania 17 was mine.
Oh, man, I would love to have been at that show.
Heralded as one of the most amazing WrestleManias of all time. I was there in really craptastic seats because the guy in front of me kept standing up. And I had to keep looking around him and over him and standing up. And then the lady behind me was complaining the whole time. But amazing show regardless.
Yep.
There was a time where I was really, really big into boxing. And one of my favorite boxers was going to retire. So I flew to New York to see his final fight. And while I was there, I ran into this small little indie promotion by the name of House of Glory.
Ooh.
House of Glory, this is when I first got introduced to Private Party, Isaiah and Mark Quinn. Amazing guys. Shout out to House of Glory. Actually, I've been to one other show from them. That's good stuff if you're up in that area. And I think
House of Glory is run by Amazing Red, right?
Amazing Red was the founder, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's actually champ, too.
Okay.
One of their champs. They have a lot of belts. But then I'm going to do final. I was at Impact Wrestling when Tessa Blanchard won in Dallas. Hard to Kill. It was at a small venue here. But they did exactly like DDJ said. If you were the first few rows, you got in early. You got to meet a lot of people. God, it was just an amazing experience. I was there with a friend of mine. We rode the trams into Dallas because I hate driving in Dallas. It's a crap show. But I think as far as shows and experiences go, I've definitely got StarCast and all of the AEW shows, like the big pay-per-views, up at top, but that Impact is right behind those guys. That's my list.
One thing real quick, and if I get a little emotional, I apologize in advance, but you mentioned, being at WrestleMania 32 with your dad. My dad wasn't a big wrestling fan, but he knew how much I was into it, and he was the guy that used to take me to the shows when I first started going. So that was like one of the things I always think about when I go to these live shows is I think about the times that I got to spend with my dad.
Nice.
And yeah, and it's just, you guys know, and a lot of you guys out there, pretty much everybody that knows me knows that I lost my dad about 1.5 years ago, and it's just not a day goes by that I don't think about him. I was just visiting my mom earlier today as of this recording, and it's just, I just when I talk wrestling and I think about the times I went to these shows with him, it just makes me miss him that much more. And it's just, if it wasn't for him, who knows, where my fandom of wrestling would be, because he was the one that took me to my first few shows before I could start, before I was old enough to kind of go with my friends and that. So it's just you talking about your dad just kind of made me think of mine. So I'm sorry. I just wanted to get that in and stuff. But Spencer, let's hear from you now, man.
All right. Yeah, it's amazing like what wrestling shows can do, like make you harken back to like old memories of like your family and everything. So that's really cool. I actually got the opportunity to take my family to Extreme Rules in 2019. That was the one with Undertaker and Roman. Nice. Tag teaming. My nephew enjoyed it. My parents absolutely did not. My dad thought the best part was the entrances, and my mom, she was like, "Oh yeah. Don't worry, he's selling it." She was just making fun of it. I'm just like, yeah, never doing this again. So that was a one and done. Kind of to go away from his serious moment. Here's my funny moment of never taking my parents to a wrestling event ever again because they don't get it. But I think they'll still support me, especially with pro wrestling junkies and everything. But going to shows I've been to, I have had the absolute pleasure and fortunate to be able to go to some pretty cool shows. I was able to go to AEW Double or Nothing in Vegas. I wish I could have spent more time there. I had to basically like work my ass off, get down there. Flight was delayed. I had tickets to StarCast, but I only got to go one day, and I bought the whole like gold ticket or everything, so that was basically a waste. But the show was amazing. That was my very first show I ever got front row from Ryan and the Pro Wrestling T guys. That was great. I had an amazing time. Like DDJ said, you can see him on the All Out 2019 DVD. You can clearly see me in the Double or Nothing 2019 DVD. Look for the moment when Cody and Dustin Rhodes hug, and then the guy putting his hands up and go, yeah, that's me. there might be some gum falling out. I forgot to swallow that or spit it out. So there might be that, but yeah, you can look for me there. Amazing show. I cannot wait to go back to Vegas again. I know we're going to have to make a PWJ road trip or flight down there for sure.
Taking over Vegas.
Ooh, that's going to be wild.
We're taking over.
Especially the after time after the show. Whew, that was fun.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
You can only imagine that one.
Imagine how much fun we have here doing this. Imagine us like actually together.
Gentlemen, am I hearing a Junkyard live in
Ooh,
Vegas?
maybe one day. We'll see.
Oh.
If everything gets back to
Hey,
normal.
we'll make what the Inner Circle did in Vegas look tame.
Yes.
Oh, damn. And then I was able to go to the AEW Dynamite, my first AEW Dynamite show in Atlanta earlier this year before the pandemic. And that was the match with Cody versus Wardlow in the first ever steel cage match in AEW history.
Yep.
That was amazing to see. It was crazy to see Cody do that moonsault. And he still regrets it to this day, but that was amazing to see that moment. And then like him, have the moment with the crowd and everything. And I cannot wait. Mark my words, there will be a pay-per-view that comes to Atlanta whenever everything comes back to normal. There will be an AEW pay-per-view, and I will be there front row. I will find a way to get because now I work with Pro Wrestling Junkies, so I'll find a way to get in the media or whatever. But
You can just go work a couple corners.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Wait, no.
Absolutely book it.
You heard it here first. You can go.
No, you did not hear it here first.
Drive.
Yeah, no. And then like for my local promotion, Southern Honor Wrestling, I got the fortune to see they did a War Games match, and that was so cool to see like the double cages and everything. And I only seen it on TV, just being able to see that in person was really cool. I've gone to a few NXT house shows. Those were amazing. I got to go to, there was one when they had NXT at Center Stage, and we got when they were filming there for TV, so that was really cool. Went to night one. I didn't go to night two. That was the one where Ricochet debuted, and I was like, damn it, we went to the wrong night. But it's still a great time. I think that was the one where Johnny Gargano lost and was going to leave NXT, but then of course, he came back, and how that storyline went with Tommaso Ciampa, and they had that great match. But yeah, I have been so lucky and blessed to be able to go to some of these amazing shows. There are so many more I want to go to. I know you guys too. And hopefully when everything gets back to normal in 2021, hopefully, knock on wood, because there's actually wood right there. Hopefully, everything gets back to normal. We can get all the fans back in the arenas. Gonna probably take a little while for like the big arenas to get filled back up, and maybe we can get people back in there, maybe like half capacity or something, and just slowly start getting things back to the way they were, even though I don't know if they'll ever get back to the way they were with everything that went on. But one day, hopefully we can get back to some sense of normalcy. But that's kind of like my list and everything. So the final thing I want to end on is definitely there's the entrances and the music and the sounds and the lights and everything, but the fans make the show. Yep. And like I just said, hopefully everything gets back to normal. We get some sense of normalcy, and everything just kind of goes back to normal. So kind of, just wrap it up. Final thoughts on, live shows and just kind of the future.
One of the things I kind of want that just you talking about Dynamite and stuff. I was lucky enough to go to the episode of Dynamite that was in Chicago as well. When the night before Thanksgiving, and the best experience I had with that wasn't, and it didn't have anything to do with the ring. It was actually, I'd gotten, and Ryan Barkin is coming up a lot in this segment. So shout out to Ryan, because he really takes care of us, and that he takes care of his customers. So anybody that, has anything bad to say about Ryan, you're an idiot.
Ooh, coming in hot tonight, DDJ.
But me, it's like, hey, I got the Skybox suite, would you like some free tickets or so? I'm like, at first I wasn't sure if I was going to go because I wanted to see what the Thanksgiving plans were and stuff. Things worked out. I was able to go. I was like, well, how many can you hook me up with? It's like, will 3 work? I'm like, yeah, sure. So, me, and it was cool because I got to take like 2 of my really good friends to the show. My friend Patrick was one, and then my other friend Sean, who had yet to go to an AEW show, but I believe he was actually going to the Dynamite that was in Champaign, Illinois, the following week. But just being able to take my 2 friends to a show and kind of show them a good time, he put us up in a night that we got a suite at the Allstate Arena, it's the Sears Center, food and everything and that and stuff, and just being able to like show my friends a good time was just like such an awesome experience.
Yeah.
Plus we got to meet Chris Jericho's dad at that show too.
Nice.
All right. So yeah, so that was basically just one last thing I wanted to talk about, was just that experience about being able to show my friends a good time.
So, Jovan, now that you're back from your extended vacation there, what are your final thoughts on, just live shows and the future of that, and just kind of bring us home?
Well, live shows, it's going to look different, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe bubbles where you sit with people who people you trust.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we'll be at capacity seating for a very long time, maybe 2 years, 2 to 3 years.
Right.
I think this is where I'm scared, because I can see this happening. The price to go to a live event sometimes gets a little high.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the company, depending on the venue.
Right.
Depending on the type of show too.
Exactly. So we could get into the situation where companies are going to do bigger venues, a la sports stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to recoup costs, ticket costs are going to go up. And they're going to be able to fit more people spread out and have it more comfortable.
Right.
But we're going to end up paying a little bit more. So I'm seeing that ticket prices, when they start figuring out what's a good minimum price range, what can they do and still be safe, we could see tickets skyrocket. And that's on the primary market, not even the secondary. Scalpers.
Yeah.
Oh, God, don't get me started on scalp.
Those bastards are going to eat good because, guys, I don't know about you, but I'm tired of being at home, right? Sometimes I just feel like, geez, man, I know I'm being safe. I'm protecting myself, but I can't say that for everybody out there.
Right.
And I want to be able to go outside, get some air more than I'm already doing. And going into an event with like-minded people, that would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But for people like me who have been exceedingly cautious, if you finally do start to let your guard down, how much are you willing to pay to get to an event that's either A, sold out, or B, for better viewing? So I think the scalpers, the secondary market's going to blow up worse than it's been.
Mm-hmm.
But I think short term, we're going to see limited crowd availability, kind of what they're doing in Jacksonville. It's working. I haven't heard of any spreader events happening at their shows. And if you go to a show there, they're done well.
Mm-hmm.
People are spaced out. They are very, very meticulous about the masks.
Very.
I heard that.
And everything is very, very controlled. And it's a controlled good time. So I'm down.
Right.
I think a lot of places are going to start to emulate that model because I don't know if any of you have been, besides Spencer and myself. That arena at Daly's Place is an open air arena. It's not a building. It looks like a building on TV. And sometimes you can kind of see like the sky whenever they do their shots. But that is a completely air open circulating arena. And I think that's where the shift is going to be initially to your open air venues. So your amphitheaters, your little outdoor football fields, things like that we've already seen work. I think that's the short-term plan, but long-term, I think it's going to be until this really gets wrapped up. We'll see bubble situations where they'll group you together, and we may pay to do the larger venues, but it'll at least mitigate a little bit of the risk because you'll be further apart from people.
So it occurred to me real quick that I really didn't answer your question while Jovanni was taking care of business.
Well, DJ, bring us home now then.
Okay, so I agree with what Jovanni said. And I think what I've decided I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm going to really, I think, try to stick to the indie shows because I think that's where the fandom is really most needed right now.
Yes.
Because you have, if you're under contract to say WWE, AEW, any of these big time organizations that are doing these either, events with reduced capacity or, close, set shows, stuff like that. They're obviously in a position where, the talent's taken care of, and that's the most important thing. Indie shows don't have that luxury, especially the smaller market ones. So I'm going to go to shows like Chicagoland Championship Wrestling because, like I said, I've gotten to know a lot of the guys through doing my podcast, all great guys. The guy that runs the promotion, John Bullard, is just a genuinely good dude and gives me every reason to want to support him. And again, like I said, I think the independent scene is really what needs the fandom the most in that. So any chance I can get to go to an indie show, provided that all the safety protocols are followed, things like that, then I'm good. And that, so I think to me, that's where I'm going to focus on. Obviously, if there's a chance that I can go to an AEW show, I would love to. But like I said, for me right now, it's going to be indies is where it's at because, like I said, I think they need us the most right now. So what I see the future is much like Spencer said, probably aren't going to see full capacity shows or, sold out, like legit sold out venues for at least a year or two. And if not longer. So, but so I just think, like I said, what Jovanni said is a great indication. I think is an accurate indication of where live events are going to be. As far as I know, I think WWE said they're suspending all live events till further notice, at least like house shows and stuff they may still do, especially now with their location of the Thunderdome. They may start bringing fans in eventually because they're in a place now that where I think they are able to do that because it is a baseball stadium. So you can have people that are spaced out and stuff, but it's going to be a while before we see anything full capacity.
So, yeah, I think that basically wraps us all up. You guys both provided some excellent points. I know we all kind of provided some shows that are very memorable to us for a lot of reasons. And so, yeah, thanks, guys. That was fun. Let's kind of wrap things up because I can already tell we're all getting tired on this one.
I have a outside the box weird thought here, Spencer.
Oh, I like outside the box weird thoughts. Go ahead.
I think we've given the people a lot. We've given the people what they've won. I don't think people want to go to school this week.
No school this week. Okay.
Let's give our students a day off, Professor Jovanni. What do you think about that?
You know what, DDJ? I can see giving them a snow day. It's the holiday.
Yeah.
All right.
But I had someone in mind, so we'll say maybe save that for another episode. But this has been a lot of fun and stuff. But yeah, I think
we've gone longer than normal.
Much like last Wednesday's episode of AEW, winter is coming.
All right, the professors have spoken. We will be tabling this school session for the next episode of the Junkyard. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you, everybody, to for joining us and taking the time to listen to us. We greatly appreciate it. Like we said earlier, if you have an Apple product, if you don't have an Apple product,
Steal one.
Steal one. Yeah, go ahead. No. Just find a way. Leave us a 5-star review. Write a review. That's always great. We'd love to hear from everybody.
Hey, everybody has YouTube. Has access to YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Leave a review on our YouTube page.
Yeah, leave a comment on the video. That's always helpful too.
I shout you out like Justin Wilson. You never know.
Yeah.
And then also, if you find yourself watching the video version or even listening to the audio version, you just want to take a selfie because, everybody's taking a selfie nowadays. Go ahead and hashtag that junk selfies. Throw that up on the old Twitter machine, and we will shout you guys out. Nothing yet, but I've been on the lookout. So if somebody decides to do that, we'll give you a shout out. Maybe throw your picture up here, your beautiful face, and let you
tag us.
Yeah, please tag us so we can find it.
Yeah.
And
Hot
then
tag us.
hot tag. That could be a segment in the future. I like that. But yeah. So again, thank you everybody for checking us out. Make sure you guys follow us on the Pro Wrestling Junkies socials. They are all at the top if you're watching the video. If not, the audio, they will be in the bottom. That is PW_Junkies on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. And then, of course, you got our Facebook group link in the description below. Section. These guys are fandangoing. I'm tired. I don't feel like it. But just like these guys are ready to go home, I've been Spencer Cantor, number 11. You can find me at number 11 SC on the Twitter.
I am Dennis Day on Facebook as Dennis Day Jr. I am on Twitter as Dennis W. Day Jr. And you can also find me hosting What Do You Say with DDJ that drops every Monday at 12 a.m. Eastern. And on this week's episode that will have dropped the day before, I have the man that is that did all the filming for the Chicagoland Championship Wrestling show that I attended back on October 3rd, a gentleman by the name of Xavier Camacho. So by the time this drops, my podcast will have been available. Please give it a listen, and much like the Junkyard, please give me a 5-star review.
Cheap pop.
Got to give the people what they want.
And once again, DDJ, what the people want is me. You can find me, Jovanni Hotty, on the Pro Wrestling Junkies Facebook page under Jovan Menacho, which is my given name. Or you can find me on the Twitter machine, as my co-host so aptly put it, at Jovanni Hotty. So once again, El Guapo Hotty can be found on Twitter at Jovanni Hotty. Appreciate you guys.
and you can find him on the Facebook on his shoot name at Jovan Menacho.
Right. My government name.
His government name. Guys, thank you again. Have a great night, and we will catch you next week on the next edition of The Junkyard. Junkies out.